Hello? Good morning. Good morning, everyone. What's up? Claire's on her way. Hold on one second and I'll stop whispering. Claire's on her way, and we're gonna be reading Rabbi Harry Waton again. Hold on, let me put a cup of coffee on. I hope you guys have been liking Rabbi Harry Waton because I really have been, and I've been taking his advice seriously. And you know, you gotta accept, you gotta take on Jewish virtues if you're gonna defeat the Jews. Right? You have to admit that they're in a place of power for a reason. They've obviously done something right. And yeah, they're worthy of imitation. They're finer qualities. Um, Only by becoming more like them will you be able to defeat them. Um, yeah, the reason why the the white male heterosexual hasn't been able to rid himself of the Jews no matter how hard he tries is because he's deficient. Excuse me. The Jews have virtues that he does not. And so that makes it impossible for him to defeat the Jew. Totally impossible. Okay, actually. So, as I do at the beginning of every stream, give me a second. I'm on partial shadow ban. So it's like impossible to find my videos, or no, I'm on partial shadow ban. So you might be able to find some of my videos. Sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't. The first 3 don't show up anywhere for some reason. Oh wait, hold on. I need to get anyway, so I made a hold on one second, hold on one second. Hey Siri, turn on the dresser. Hold on one second. Oh shoot. Hold on one second. Hey Siri, turn off the dresser. Yeah, so it's impossible for them to defeat them. You have to take on their virtues, right? And Stephen J. James is a good example of not taking on their virtues. He doesn't even like listening. He says Jews raise their boys like little girls. It's all about reading and stuff like that. And Stephen J. James says that his being stupid is part of his kind of whole little spiel, his whole little identity. Not, oh yeah, he's really against, over analyzing things and deep analysis. And he tells me and Drew that we're trying to become Jews because, we read a lot and we psychoanalyze. And we discuss dense material and stuff like that, not just kind of surface, and it's not all a big joke, and stuff like that. It's not all a big joke. Um, hold on. Another thing that I got to do is right now I got to send out the YouTube link because I lost my channel, so I had like 800 subscribers or something like that. And what's going on here? I had like 800 subscribers and now they're all gone. Um so I have to share the link. I have to share the link with Claire. But first I have to find the link on YouTube so I can share it and I can put it up on my Vincent Bruno shadowban.blogspot.com. I forget if I told you about that, but yeah, I'm on Shadowban, so there's only one way to really find my videos, well, usually, and that is on that blog. So if you give me a second, let me just send out this stuff and then we'll wait for Claire and oh, she's here. Good. Hold on.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello, Vincent. Here I am.
Hi. So well, now that you're here, I mean, I'm not having ConOps on this thing ever again because it's the same repetitive thing. All he wants to do is talk about how there's so few Noahides and how Noahidism is not a threat. And I actually want to have intellectual discussions. I don't want to really be fighting about. I don't want to keep talking about. I don't want to keep talking about defending myself for
I
talking about
understand
this.
you're very patient with him.
Yeah, it's the same thing every time he comes on. Oh, there's so few of them. Why do you care? You know what I mean? Orthodox Jews aren't powerful. He's a stupid. He's
He
a
actually
stupid.
admits he's a liberal Democrat. He just said he basically said he'll toe the establishment line, whatever it is, because he knows on which side his bread is buttered, and so that's how he's going to be. I mean,
Yeah, which
you can't expect a genuine opinion from him, basically.
which is very Gentile, like, and also it's Gentile to just feel that confident and to not fear minorities and not to have any kind of fear or apprehension of any conspiracies against you. Like Stephen J. James says he doesn't fear anything. Um,
But he
and
does.
what does he fear?
Well, being overrun by immigrants and the browning of Europe and all that. I mean, he's obviously concerned because the people who view his videos are people who are ethno nationalists, Islamophobes, and anti-Semites. I mean, you can't tell a man by his associates. Birds of a feather flock together.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, birds of a feather flock together. And no, but just this frivolousness, and I'm sorry, that whole thing, I really lost all respect for him when he said that two men can have sex with each other and they're still not gay. That's ridiculous. I think that proves he's homosexual.
yes, and that he's recently tried.
Yes. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah. I mean, he will never take a principled position on anything really. I mean, that is his thing. I mean, whatever it is. He's an establishment man, and he'll do anything to, remain mainstream and, get his income, whatever. And I guess he visits us to, well, to mock us, really.
Yes. Yeah,
Because he,
that's
he must be so, well, frustrated at all the things he cannot say, and that's why he comes here to punch down and mock people who are at least, sincere about, what they think is the problem.
yeah, because well, he doesn't stream. What would he talk about if he even had a stream?
There are lots of people who I think just take it out on people because they know they can get away with it. You look at their Twitter timelines; they never state a position, so you can't get them on anything, and all they do is mock others. And ConOps is basically a vandal. On the one hand, he doesn't really agree with everything his political masters say, but on the other hand, he can't be seen to be agreeing to the victims of his political masters.
Wait, what is going on here?
Okay, I'm going to share.
Okay, so we are on Rabbi Harry Waton, and okay, unfortunately, right now we're talking about. Well, we started getting right now. It hasn't been right now. We're talking a little bit about metaphysics for the next. Well, we're gonna be talking about. Well, we started already. I'm not going back and starting it again, but we started talking about Jewish metaphysics and Jewish beliefs. And that goes on for a while, and then we're gonna get into Christianity and Buddhism. I don't know if we're gonna enjoy these religious parts as much. The religio-historic aspect. Okay, well, hopefully this stays interesting and doesn't go downhill because it's been interesting so far. Let me just get my coffee and my pen. Hey Siri, turn on the table. Hey Siri, turntable to 100%. Oh. And then we're gonna start. Okay, we're in the middle. We started this kind of Jewish metaphysics, and we're gonna continue with them. It's all been about politics so far, so hopefully we don't spend too much time on metaphysical mumbo jumbo because that's not really what I'm interested in. It's even in the Noahide laws, it's the least relevant thing. It's the least relevant thing that you can get yourself involved in is spirituality. Okay. The world has neither essence nor existence of its own. The world is merely the reflection of the absolute through the infinite. The intellect in an infinite series of infinite reflections. The absolute is absolute throughout. Is absolute thought without form. The form of thought is an idea. The first eternal and infinite idea of the absolute is the infinite intellect, and all realities in existence are nothing else than an infinite idea of the infinite intellect, comprehending the infinite attributes in infinite different combinations. The absolute, because he is the cause of himself eternally and infinitely, reflects on himself through an infinite series of infinite reflections. The absolute, therefore, eternally and infinitely renews the process of creation. Should the absolute cause cease to reflect on himself, and the whole world will cease to exist. The infinite intellect is both the absolute and the world as absolute. The infinite intellect is unknowable, but as the world, the infinite intellect is knowable through his manifestations in the world. The infinite intellect is God, the creator of the world, and this infinite intellect is Jehovah. Through Jehovah, the absolute realizes an eternal and infinite aim, and this aim manifests itself in the destiny of every reality in existence. Every reality has a destiny, just as the whole of existence has a destiny. For whatever is absolute, infinite, and eternal is absolute, infinite, and eternal in every part thereof. Take an acorn. It is a small and perishable reality, yet in its essence there is an eternal and infinite destiny. Suppose we put into the ground this one acorn. In time it will sprout out, and in time it will become a mighty oak tree, reproducing the acorn a thousandfold, a millionfold. Suppose we remove all other objects, trees, plants, and herbs from the face of the earth, then this one acorn will reproduce itself in countless billions of oak trees, reproducing acorns infinitely. Suppose from existence Suppose from existence all other material realities be removed, then this one acorn will reproduce itself in infinite oak trees, and the whole infinite material will assume the form of oak trees and acorns. Thus, we see that in every reality there is an eternal and infinite destiny. Once a human being is conceived in the first germ, it already contains the destiny of the human being. This human being may be destroyed, but if it is not destroyed, it will in due time attain to the form, nature, and function of a human being. The realization of this destiny constitutes history. We call it evolution, but it is history. The history of existence is nothing else than the realization of the eternal, infinite idea of the absolute. Let us now consider the material world with relation to history. Okay, let's get out of this metaphysics, please. Okay. We saw that throughout the combination of the infinite attributes by the thought of the infinite intellect, the world was brought out. But now, when we come to consider the material world, we must consider the attributes and their modes. For in the material world, we do not see the attributes themselves. These modes are matter, space, time, force, motion, gravitation, light, electricity, and the like. All these are eternal and infinite modes of attributes, and just as the attributes of themselves cannot combine to bring out modes, so these modes of themselves cannot combine to bring out the material realities. Like the attributes, these modes eternally and infinitely remain the same. They do not grow through a process of evolution. They have neither destiny nor history. Like the triangle, these modes eternally and infinitely remain the same. The change is evolution and history that mankind themselves in the material world are only the realization of the eternal and infinite idea of the absolute through the infinite intellect. And so, while matter, space, force, motion, gravitation, light, electricity, and the like eternally and infinitely remain the same, their combinations go through a process of evolution. They have a destiny and a history, but this evolution, destiny, and history is the realization of the eternal and infinite idea of the absolute. But this eternal and infinite idea is the infinite intellect. Hence Jehovah's evolution, destiny, and history. Jehovah speaks the language I am becoming what I am to become. This is the language of the evolution of destiny and history. In the whole infinite and eternal existence, only Jehovah is evolution, destiny, and history. Since Jehovah is God, the creator of the world, it follows that Jehovah is the God of evolution, destiny, and history. And now the question is, what is the aim of the Absolute? The aim of the Absolute is to realize himself in the material world, to make the world as perfect as he is, and to bring out material beings that shall know and understand him as infinite intellect. Creation is not from the center of the Absolute towards the periphery of the material world, but is from the periphery of the material world to the center of the absolute. It is from implicitness, darkness, chaos, evil, and imperfection towards explicitness, light, order, good, and perfection. Viewing creation from this aspect, we see how out of chaos darkness emerges. Creation, we see the dawn of light, life, consciousness. We see the infinite form of light and of life following. Okay, we only have 2 pages left before we get to Christianity, and hopefully we're out of this nonsense. We see the infinite form of light. Viewing creation from this aspect, we see how out of chaos and darkness emerged creation. We see the dawn of light, life, consciousness. We see the infinite form of light and life following one another, rising even higher towards greater light and more explicit consciousness until man appears and leads all existence towards infinite light, universal consciousness, and supreme perfection. The ladder of evolution, destiny, and history stands on the basis of the material world, but its top reaches the infinite ladder of evolution, destiny, and history stands on the basis of material world, but its top reaches on the infinite intellect Jehovah. The angels of God ascend by the ladder, reach Jehovah, and receive divine knowledge and understanding, and then go down to the masses of humanity to enrich them with the divine light, knowledge, and understanding. From time to time, a Moses, a Jesus, a Spinoza ascends to Jehovah and brought down to mankind light, knowledge, and understanding. These immortals saw Jehovah face to face, and what they saw they imparted to mankind in a veiled manner, for mankind were not yet prepared to see Jehovah face to face. Man begins as an animal, but he is destined to attain to reason, become rational, and morally autonomous. Then man will be prepared to realize the aim of Jehovah, and this man will realize by attaining to intellect. The intellect is the soul who implicitly self-conscious and universal consciousness. When man attains to intellect, he then perceives that his intellect is part of the infinite intellect. That is, he then perceives that his soul is part of Jehovah. He then identifies himself with Jehovah in eternal and supreme intellectual love of Jehovah. This is the destiny of man. Hear, O Israel, Jehovah our God is one, and thou shalt love Jehovah thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. But while it is the destiny of man to identify himself with Jehovah, it is the destiny of Jehovah to realize himself in man. God, the infinite intellect, has as many names as he comprehends attributes, but God assumes the name God, the infinite intellect, has as many names and as names as he comprehends attributes, but God assumes the name Jehovah only when he realizes himself in man. Hence, only in the earth and in man does God assume the name Jehovah. Jehovah is the holiest name of God because it is the realization of the eternal and infinite aim of the Absolute. When man attains to the intellect and identifies himself with Jehovah, then man becomes the son of Jehovah. It was for this reason that Moses told the Jews they are the sons of Jehovah, for the Jews attained the intellect and love of Jehovah. The name Jehovah consists of four letters, Yod, He, Vav, He. If you look on these four letters in the Bible, you will see that the forms of the letters symbolize the physical form of man. The Yod consists of the middle point and two lines projecting from it on the top and on the bottom. The Yod symbolizes the head of man containing the brain. The upper line connects them with Jehovah, and the lower line is the spinal cord. The first, he consists of a horizontal line and two vertical lines. The he consists of a horizontal line and two vertical lines. The horizontal line is the shoulder, and the two lines are the hands. Next, we have the Vav, which is the prolonged yod. The Vav symbolizes the medulla oblongata and the spinal cord. Finally, we have the second He, which symbolizes the pelvis and the two legs. When the Bible tells us that Elohim created man in the image of Elohim, this is true physically and spiritually. Physically and spiritually, man is the epitome of Jehovah. Excuse me. And man, Jehovah realizes himself, and this realization makes of man the son of Jehovah. Thus, we see that Jehovah is the God of evolution, destiny, and history. Bear this in mind. The Bible speaks of many gods, and the Bible recognizes man, but the Jews are commanded to believe only in Jehovah. The many gods are in many forces and processes in existence, but only Jehovah is evolution, destiny, and history. So he's not denying the other gods. Tells us the bearing this in mind, the Bible speaks of many gods, and the Bible recognizes many gods, but the Jews are commanded to believe only in Jehovah. But okay, so are the Noahides, or at least they're commanded not to believe in other gods. The many gods are many forces and processes in existence, but only Jehovah's evolution, destiny, and history. By identifying themselves with Jehovah, the Jews identify themselves with evolution, destiny, and history. This is the reason why the Jews are the only historic people. Only they know of history and the destiny of mankind. They are the first ones whom Jehovah chose and imparted to them this eternal and infinite idea. But the Jews were chosen not for their own sake, they were chosen to become the means through whom Jehovah will redeem all mankind. Salvation is of the Jews, but the Jews themselves will realize the salvation only through the salvation of the whole human race. It is therefore the historic function of the Jews to bring salvation to mankind. What then is Judaism? Judaism is the perception of this eternal and infinite idea of Jehovah and the endeavor to realize this idea. In other words, Judaism is the endeavor to bring salvation to mankind. This is the essence of Judaism. All commands have only the purpose of serving this idea. By exceptional commands, the Jews are trained and disciplined to perform their exceptionally difficult historic task. The Jews must be as holy as Jehovah is. The Jews must be a model to all other races and peoples. They must be prophets and teachers to mankind. Yes. Since Jehovah is the God of evolution, history, and destiny, it follows that Judaism is the only religion that is evolution, history, and destiny. Like Jehovah, Judaism speaks the language of I am become what I am to become. Judaism is a dynamic religion. It is a religion that relates to the material world, for only in the material world there is change, there is evolution, there is destiny, and there is history. In the transcendental world, there is no change, no evolution, no destiny, and no history. The transcendental world is the world of perfect ideas. Take an illustration, the triangle. Look at the triangle. What do you see? You see eternity. You can see that in the triangle neither beginning nor end, nor change, nor evolution, nor destiny, nor history. Through eternity, through infinite time, space, and matter, the triangle was, is, and will remain the same. The language of the triangle is I am. This is the language of eternity. Eternity is static and perfect, and as such, it is beyond history and beyond morality. Morality reveals only to the material world the world of chaos, darkness, evil, and imperfection. Morality relates only to the material world, the world of chaos, darkness, evil, and perfection. The function of morality is to convert, excuse me, is to convert chaos into order, darkness into light, evil into good, and imperfection to perfection. Morality is conduct in the material world. Conduct relates to the future, for the consequences of conduct realize themselves in the future. The future may be the next moment, the next day, the next year, or the next 1,000 years, but in all the cases, conduct relates to the future. Morality implies the overcoming of obstacles and difficulties. Morality implies work, struggle, and suffering. Morality is conformity with the eternal and infinite law of equivalence. Existence results in a law of equivalence. There must be a quid pro quo. For everything we get from existence, we must pay an equivalent, and this equivalent must pay in coins of work, struggle, and suffering. We must work for the material means of life. We must struggle for intellectual attainment. We must suffer for spiritual excellence. Judaism is a religion that requires work, struggle, and suffering. Judaism declares man can be justified only by deeds. Faith alone is not good enough. True. You need to follow the Noahide laws. To identify oneself with Jehovah through Judaism, one must constantly work, struggle, and suffer. Judaism is not only the only historic religion, but it is also the only moral teaching. Judaism prescribes rules for conduct in all cases. There is nothing a Jew can do which is not prescribed in the Bible how the Jew shall do it. The noblest, the noblesse oblige, nobility of birth, nobility of position.
Noblesse oblige.
What's noblesse oblige? What's noblesse oblige mean?
It means the obligation of the nobility to serve the people, to assume obligations that people below them don't have in order to guide society for the better.
Okay. Okay, let's finish this. Finally, we're almost done with this metaphysical section. Noblesse oblige, nobility of birth, nobility of position, and nobility of function require nobility of conduct. The Jews cannot eat, he cannot drink, he cannot dress, he cannot do a thing unless it is in accordance with the commandments prescribed by Judaism. Next, we must bear in mind that Judaism rests upon a covenant, the eternal covenant between Jehovah and the Jews, and anyone and anyone that wants to embrace Judaism must accept this covenant. A covenant imposes duties and obligations, and one that wants to enjoy the benefits of this covenant must first perform the condition and requirements of the covenant. Once one enters into a covenant, he cannot abrogate the covenant without the consent of the other party of the covenant. S- Um, since the Jews etern- since the Jews entered into this covenant with Jehovah, the Jews cannot abrogate this covenant without the consent of Jehovah, and Jehovah swore that he will never abrogate the covenant. And so, whether the Jews want it or not, they are eternally bound to this covenant. And Jehovah said, "As I live, I will rule over you with a strong hand." And eternally bound by his covenant. And Jehovah said, as I live, I will rule over you with a strong hand. And Jehovah does rule over the Jews with a strong hand. When the Jews relax in the performance of the covenant, Jehovah punishes them severely and compels the Jews to return to their historic task. Judaism is a historic religion, it is a moral religion, and for this reason it is a hard religion. But the law of equivalence reads both ways. Just as we pay an equivalent for whatever we get from existence, so once we did pay the equivalent, there is nothing in existence that can deprive us from what we have just earned. The Jews had a hard task, they always suffered, but their reward is absolute and immutable. Nothing can pass in infinite existence. Nothing that can pass in infinite existence can rob the Jews of the reward which awaits them. Since Jehovah, the God of evolution, of destiny, of history, chose the Jews to perform this great historic task, may the rest of the race combine it against the Jews, endeavor to destroy the Jews. The Jews will not be destroyed, rather, their enemies will be destroyed. Judaism and the Jews are unique. There is no religion like Judaism, and there is no people like the Jews. And all this is because Jehovah is unique. There are infinite forces and processes in existence, but only Jehovah transcends them all, condemns them all, and determines them all. For Jehovah is the eternal and infinite idea of the absolute, the idea that realizes itself in the world and the human race. That we may thoroughly realize all this, we will consider other religions and their gods. I begin with the consideration of Buddhism. Okay, so now we're going to get into Buddhism and Christianity. I don't know how long we're going to spend. I hope this isn't more mumbo jumbo stuff. Well, maybe he's going to critique it. That will be interesting. Okay, well, that'll be interesting if he's going to critique them and kind of rip them apart. Let's see how long this lasts. This is quite long. Because then we get to the religio historic aspect. All right, let me take a little break. Okay, so I did order that Noahide Guide to Matthew, by
Alan
who,
Cecil.
Alan Cecil. But even it's still not available. I can't find it anywhere. Stephen J. James says, "Welcome to day 54 of becoming a Jew with Claire Call." We were just talking about you, Stephen J. James, that you don't want to take on the virtues of Jews. Yeah, like you make fun of us for being psychoanalytical and you know doing deep readings and deep discussions about Jewish law and technicalities and stuff like that. You make
You
fun
would
of us.
expect him to be anti-intellectual because of his class and his class associations. I mean, look at the people he associates with.
Well, he's purposely anti-intellectual.
He's a sportsman. Sportsmen are completely vacuous, really, most of them.
Well, I mean, well, that's the thing. Well, in You Gentiles, which we're going to read, this book is a great primer for you Gentiles. But in You Gentiles, he talks about sports and how the Gentiles are obsessed with sports
Which is
and
trivia.
yeah, which is like trivia. I mean, I can understand exercise. The thing is that what's his name? I've only been looking at different paragraphs of You Gentiles, but he did talk about creating a synthesis between Gentile and Jew. So I don't see. I think that if Gentiles actually paid a lot more attention to the intellect, that it would be fine if they were involved in sports. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with sports inherently.
No, I
But
don't. I mean, obviously, Gentiles need to keep themselves healthy, and sport is a much more entertaining than just working out at the gym. Um, and of course, they have to be healthy to, do a whole bunch of stuff. But to, be obsessed about sport is just a sign of trivia, being trivial. I guess it's a
yes,
question of degree.
yeah, it is to be obsessed with it. I mean, for it to like take over intellectual pursuits. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, because okay, if you're talking to religious Jews, what is their free time consist of? Well, their free time consists of studying Torah, right? And what does the Gentiles' free time consist of? Yeah, sports and TV and boxing and different things like that. These are not that. And yeah, it's sports people make more money than scientists do and make more money than teachers do and all this other kind of stuff, and we put a lot of time, money, energy, and effort into them.
Hmm.
I wonder if that's going to change as the West becomes less white. I mean, I know other countries, they do like sports and stuff, but I guess all countries probably played sports. I guess it's a universal Gentile thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a kind of male bonding thing, isn't it? And of course, it's also proxy war. You divide yourself into different teams, and you compete with each other to get the prize. And hopefully, I mean, the idea is that the best team is the most sportsmanlike and has the best team spirit and all that kind of thing, which would equip these men to better fight their real wars.
Mhm. Yeah, we should start going all the high schools and saying school spirit is idolatry, shouldn't we?
Well, I think it's useful for young people to, you know, discharge their youthful energy in a creative way. Otherwise, they'll just be watching porn and taking drugs and becoming juvenile delinquents.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I'm not against sports. I just don't think that it should be all consuming like with Stephen J. James. I don't think it should take over other pursuits. I don't think it should encourage you to be anti-intellectual.
Mm. But a lot of them, these sportsmen are anti-intellectual because, well, I guess they have no time to read books and they just don't get it.
Well, yeah, I mean, they seem to lack interest in it and stuff like that. And well, just yeah, Stephen J. James is a great example, and I don't want to bring down all sports people, and I don't want to say that all sports people are anti-intellectual, but yeah, I think there is a streak there of anti-intellectualism, and it's a problem.
Hmm.
It's a problem. Oh, I wish. Well, Stephen J. James is listening, but Dalmatian Dogs should be listening. That I was reading in New Gentiles a little bit. He was criticizing Christianity, and he said Christianity is based on forgiveness, whereas Judaism is based on retaliation. And I
Who
really
said
think
that? Dalmatian dog?
no, no, no. I wish Dalmatian Dog was here because we were talking about retaliation and getting revenge and how the Jews are about getting revenge. And they were like, well, that's not. In you Gentiles, he said Christianity is about forgiveness, but Judaism is about retaliation. And retaliation is smarter than forgiveness.
Well, I wouldn't. Judaism is also about forgiveness. I mean, it
Not of
doesn't say
not of your
don't
enemies.
forgive people.
Not of
Hmm?
your enemies. Not of your enemies. Maybe of people who committed a sin, but not of like enemies of the Jews. There's no forgiveness.
Well, I know they're still religiously obliged to exterminate Amalek, but
Oh
well, I
no, but
don't know.
they'll
I mean, hmm?
let me tell you something. Jews will never forgive the West for the way they treated Jews. They'll never forgive Christianity for the way they treated Jews, and they're going to retaliate. with the Noahide laws. They're going to get their ultimate revenge on Christianity, and that is to make it cease to exist.
Well, it should cease to exist anyway because it's an anachronism, and people like Stephen J. James don't realize it because they keep making category errors. But
And they don't care that they're intellectually bankrupt.
yeah, because it's like, oh, all I can see is my tribe, and that my tribe are people of my class and people of my skin color, even though they're stupid, and degenerate, and they'll never have children because no sane woman of my race would marry them. But but for during their lifetimes, it's better than nothing. You know, they okay. I mean, probably in real life they have a different kind of social association, but online they just want to indulge what they really want to indulge, which is hatred of Jews, hatred of Muslims, and being with people who share the same skin tone as them
Yeah,
from the same country.
being racist, being homophobic, being misogynistic,
They're not
and the
working
way
out their problems. I mean,
no, and
fundamentally,
the way they go about it. Look, Orthodox Jewry is homophobic and misogynistic and even racist a little bit and all these other kinds of things. And they do prefer their own people, but they do it the right way. There's a way to accomplish these kinds of things. Everyone talks about, oh, the alt-right, so homophobic, so misogynistic, so racist. Nobody goes on about that, like about Orthodox Judaism. When's the last time you heard everyone being like, Orthodox Jewry is so homophobic? Oh my God, how horrible. Nobody cares that Orthodox Jews are homophobic. Leftists don't sit around talking about Orthodox Jews being homophobic. It's like the way you do it too. I mean, the Jews just know how to get away with it. And with these Noahide laws, they're going to know how to get away with it. They're homophobic and they're misogynistic. A woman must marry her rapist, but the left is not going to get all uppity about it because it's done in a certain way. It's done in a clever way.
well, it's also how they are treated by their government. And if their government doesn't like them, and if their government is a matriarchy, the matriarchy would be feminists looking in horror at these low status men, the stupid, and they imagine patriarchy would mean that women have to be forced to marry, low status, low income, low education, low information men like these, anti-Semites, racists, and Islamophobes. And basically, these feminists are saying they would rather die, and obviously they're going to, you know, demonize and label these low information, low status, you know, men who have no role because of the welfare state. I think the reason why the matriarchy keeps importing immigrant labor is because, well, they can't make the locals work without without abolishing the welfare state, and they don't quite dare. So they're basically saying, well, we don't want you to breed because you're useless anyway, because anybody who is lower class is just going to have bastards. And, and there'll be delinquent drug dealers who'll be stabbing each other and nobody wants to have anything to do with them. So basically the matriarchy is saying, hey, why don't you become gay? Hey, why don't you become transgender so you'll sterilize yourselves and not, and won't be breeding so we don't have to deal with you in the future. I think, fundamentally, it's that subconscious desire in the background, because if these people are useless other than to claim welfare, and the government can't even get these people to vote for them because they can't find them. They prefer Muslims because at least Muslims go to mosque, and these democratic politicians can kiss up to these Muslim elders in their mosques, and then these elders will tell their congregation to vote, Labour or Conservative or Republican or Democrat. So, as voting fodder, these immigrant vote is more useful than the white, formerly working class vote. I mean that I think is a reason why their government doesn't care about them because they're absolutely useless.
Mhm.
And that is the reason why I think slavery should be reintroduced. I mean, for the sake of these people, because the moment you reintroduce here slavery, there will be people who think, oh my God, what if I'm one of those slaves that nobody wants to buy or hire? But these people, currently it's like, well, I'm entitled to the welfare that I'm claiming. So I don't care what anybody thinks. And I'm not going to go to work for, if the wages that I am offered is less than what I'm currently getting under welfare. So these are the people you have to deal with, in the welfare trap. And then, of course, they won't say, oh, it's because Christianity is kaput, because they'll all, get all huffy and puffy and, run to their cross, so they can frighten Muslims with crosses and ideas of KKK and that kind of thing.
Mhm. Okay, let's do a little bit more reading. So now we're on Christianity and Buddhism, and I was just perusing this a little bit, and it looks a little bit more interesting. It looks a little bit more like he's attacking them. So hopefully we're done with stuff that's a little bit too dense. So here we have a Vedic poem, and this is the looks like the poem of creation. The riddle of the world, proclaim it boldly who can. Who made the heavens then, and who forsook quick feeling man? No gods were there to say who then can know or half foretell the unraveling of this mighty universal spell. Whether by will or of necessity arose the earth, he or his heaven alone can tell, who knows not death nor birth, or happily even he knows not. Okay, Heraclitus says the universe that is all is made neither of gods nor of men, but even has been and ever will be an eternal living fire, kindling and extinguishing in destined measure, a game which Zeus plays with himself. Okay, Buddhism is a religion without a god. It begins in the middle of the story, ends in the middle of the story, and it lives, moves, and has its being in the unknowable. It does not know whence, it does not know whither, it does not know what for. Buddhism negates the material world, it negates the body, and it negates the mind. All existence is an illusion. Human existence is an illusion and inherently evil, and there is no hope for living man on earth. Buddhism does not know of progress and destiny for mankind on this earth. The only thing man can do to free himself from the inherent evils of existence and suffering is to emancipate himself from the illusion of existence. He must negate the will to live and strive after nirvana. Nirvana, this is the state of illusion of the perfect idea and the transcendental word. There is no motion, no change, no time, no desire, no evolution, no history, no destiny. It is a state of I am. One that attains to this enlightenment must renounce the world and life. He must not concern himself about the material body. He must not till the land. He must not produce the material means of life. He must not concern himself about his physical needs, and he must not seek deliverance through suicide. Since he must continue to exist on this earth in a physical body, and the physical body, so long as it lives, needs material things, the enlightened one must take up the beggar's bowl and live on beggary. Not only must he negate the material world and the body, but he must also negate the intellectual world and the mind, for even they are an illusion. He must attain himself not to think living or beggary in filth and dirt, expiating for the mistake of having come into existence. He must wait until the illusion of existence comes to an end, and then he will be free to enter into the state of nirvana. We shall see that Buddhism embodies a end and then a deep truth, but for the present we must notice this: Buddhism is both unhistoric and unmoral. Buddhism knows of no history and it knows of no morality. Morality is nothing else than a conduct in this material that has its aim to convert chaos into order, darkness into light, evil into good, and imperfection into perfection. And all this must be accomplished right here on this material earth and while we exist in our physical bodies. Since, however, Buddhism regards all this as an illusion and negates all this, it negates morality. Wherever morality, whatever morality there is in Buddhism relates to the transcendental world. There is no morality. Again, since history pertains only to the material world, Buddhism is unhistoric because it negates the material world. Thus, we see the Buddhism is unhistoric and unmoral. Let sentimentalists and misguided idealists extol Buddhism to the sky. They do not know what they are talking about. By the fruit ye shall know Buddhism, not only degenerated to the grossest superstitions, but it destroyed in the followers of this religion all powers to resist evil and to struggle for a better human world right here on this earth. And what is true of Buddhism is equally true of Brahmanism. And what is the result? More than 350 million Hindus are ruled, oppressed, and exploited by a handful of Englishmen, and the Hindus cannot shake off the yoke of oppressors and exploiters. All they can do is to follow a leader who, by prayers and fasting, hopes to accomplish the miracle of freeing the Hindus from the yoke of the English. So much for Buddhism, and now we come to Christianity. Okay, what did you think of that, Claire? You were raised Buddhist, right?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
how did that sound correct to you?
Um, could you just say that? What you can you sum up what you just said?
Well, well, I guess he just I guess it's just about life negation, right? Like negating yourself.
Oh, about
And
Buddhism. Well, I think Buddhism is basically, wishing for death. I don't see the point of it. You know, I mean, if you just want to not have desire, well, it's like, well, you might as well be dead to not have desire. The whole point of regulating, I mean, religion is regulating our desires. I mean, obviously, we need to eat, we need to have sex in order to have children, and religion is about telling us, well, how much to eat, not to be gluttons, and what kind of sex to have, with whom, you know. So
okay,
that is kind of the purpose of it. Buddhism is all, go and be a monk and meditate your life away and be basically a parasitic class.
hmm okay, so now let's start getting into Christianity. He has an odd, so far he's had a very odd relationship with Christianity as a Jew. He has said that he's included Christianity in the Jewish plots, which are Marxism, internationalism, equality of the races, and the emancipation of the working class and stuff like that. He included Christianity in that general form of Marxism, right? So now he's going to start talking about that. I have the feeling he's going to say that Christianity isn't perfect.
Yes.
Oh, okay, let's continue. Christianity is akin to Buddhism, but having come from Judaism and the Jews, it retains some traces of both. But they are only traces. Christianity has sublimated the God of the Jews into an abstraction, the Father in heaven, and retired him into the background. His place was taken by Jesus. What Jehovah is to the absolute, this is Jesus to Jehovah. And just as the Jews love to look to Jehovah for salvation and help, so the Christians look to Jesus for salvation and hope. We saw that Jehovah revealed himself as I am becoming what I am to become, but Jesus revealed himself as I am. I am is the language of the perfect eternal idea in the transcendental world. It is the language of the triangle. Verily, verily, I say unto you, before Abraham was, I am. This is Christianity. Like Buddhism, Christianity does not concern itself about the material world. Its sole concern is the transcendental world. It does not concern itself about morality. Its sole concern is immortality. It does not concern itself about conduct. Its sole concern is faith. A man is justified not by deeds, but he is justified by faith. Gross. Like Buddhism, Christianity negates this material world and the body. There's not a word in the New Testament about human conduct in this material world. Man is to take no thought of the tomorrow, of what he shall eat or drink. He shall neither till the land, nor spin, nor sow, but be like the fowls of the air or the lilies of the field, trusting to the Heavenly Father that he will feed them and clothe them. Man is not to concern himself about justice and should not interfere with the ruling classes, Not a word of protest did Jesus utter against oppression, exploitation, and slavery, but advised men to submit to them all. Judaism demands that evil be exterminated, but Christianity rather encourages evil. If one strike me at the right cheek, I must let him also strike me at the left cheek. If one takes my upper garment, I must also let him take my undergarment. Marriage is only a concession to lust, but if one can overcome the lust, he should not marry. Naive Christians tell us that Christianity failed because the Christians did not live up to the requirements of Christianity. How naive. These naive Christians do not realize that if Christians did live up to the requirements of Christianity, there would have been left neither Christians nor a semblance of Christianity. True. Suppose the Christians did live up to the requirements of Christianity, they would not till the land, they would not produce material means of life, they would not spin, they would not sow, they would not wash the body, they would not concern themselves about justice and morality, they would not marry, they would not live in they would live in filth and dirt. What would become of them? They would degenerate and perish, and then there would not be a Christian to tell the tale. Christianity was not meant for this world, it was meant for another world somewhere in heaven to be enjoyed by after death. Christianity does not concern itself about life, but rather death. It does not concern itself about existence on this earth, but only about existence in heaven after death. So, what do you think about that, Claire?
About what? Can you say that
Well,
again?
that Christianity doesn't make rules for this life and it's all about after death, and how if Christians, the only reason Christianity is alive is because Christians don't behave like Christians. The only reason Christianity is alive is because Christians don't take the advice of the Bible, and they actually, when they behave, the only reason that they're alive is because they're behaving more like Jews, being
I
concerned
don't
about
know
this.
about them behaving like Jews. What do you mean they're
Well,
behaving?
them being concerned about this world when that's really not they're supposed to be their primary focus. Okay, Christians are supposed to feel as though God will provide everything for them and they shouldn't really toil too much, right? In order to clothe themselves or feed themselves, and to be a little bit more reliant upon God and have faith in God. But that's not what most Christians do, right? Most Christians like go to work and think about money and buying a new car and all that other kind of stuff. Most Christians are materialistic, but if they weren't materialistic, they would be gone. They wouldn't have any power. They would be dead. They would be a powerless people.
Yes, I guess the thing about Christianity is about total state control, because the bargain has always been that if you're Christian, you are state approved. And in any case, if you were a subject of a Christian monarch, the only religion that you could have as a subject of your Christian monarch is Christianity. And therefore, you the bargain is that, if you're upset about anything, just pray to Jesus. And if you don't really believe in the Trinity, never mind. As long as you pretend to, the priest will give you absolution and forgive you your sins. And when you're about to die, you ask for the priest to come and administer to you the last rites. And then you feel that you're going to heaven, even though the priest has absolutely no authority to forgive you on behalf of anyone else for any of your sins. But the Jews have a different system of um, repentance, because I've told you about the four-stage process of tshuva, which is basically the cessation of it, the confession of it, the resolution not to do it again, and making restitution to people you've wronged. This is how Jews do it on their Day of Atonement, as well as throughout the year, in theory. But Christians just say, well, I'll get the priest to forgive me, and I'll get to heaven. And this lie has been perpetrated for centuries. And they still don't get it. And they don't care. It's always been a corrupt bargain, because it was just made up crap, made up by the chief priest of the Roman imperial religion, called Pontifex, which was
Well,
what
they did a bad
they
job.
still have that same title.
I'm sorry, Claire. This, explaining it this way makes me feel as though the Romans didn't make Christianity, because I don't think the Romans would make such a life negating. I don't think pagans would make such a life negating, immaterial, like, don't worry about this earth, only worry about the next world. You know what I mean? Like, well, I guess that is, I don't know where it came from. I don't think the Greeks were like that. I mean, we know that Christianity has a lot of Greek pagan influence, but I think the Greeks were materialistic. I don't think they just said this world doesn't matter, and it's about the hereafter and all this other kind of stuff. And
But the characteristics of Christians have changed over the centuries.
excuse me.
It's changed over the centuries. I mean, Christians today were not Christians. I mean, we're not. I mean, previous centuries of Christians wouldn't be able to recognize themselves in the kind of people who call themselves Christian today. Will they? I mean, they would be operating under different rules. Because when Christians today don't burn each other at the stake for heresy. Well, Christians in during the wars of the Reformation would, and before that they would, because they had to make sure that people stayed Christian and didn't question too much the divinity of Jesus, and questioning the divinity of Jesus would means that you're questioning the whole basis of Christianity, and that is not allowed because they have no defense. They can't explain that nonsense. So they
Mhm.
resorted to draconian punishments, and then they lost the will to do it in certainly in the American Republic, and then they stopped doing it, in Europe, and when they stopped doing it, and they fell into disbelief, and liberalism became their new religion, and they've been using liberalism for the past 250 years, and now that's completely collapsed because in the last 50 years they haven't practiced marriage, and now they're suffering from degeneracy, and the problem of having more unmarried parents in society than there are married parents. And obviously,
Okay.
these numbers are electorally significant, and now they don't know what to do.
Okay, let's keep going. This part on Christianity is more interesting than the spiritual mumbo jumbo we're going through. Death is the chief concern of Christianity, and for this reason, it rests on a testament. It is conceived in death and exists only for death. Christianity was born only with the death of Jesus. If Jesus had not been crucified, there would have been no Christianity. True. The basis of Christianity is the resurrection of Jesus and his ascension into heaven. And while Judaism promises reward on this earth and while we live, Christianity promises reward in heaven and only after death. Jehovah is a living God. He is I am becoming and I am to become. Jesus is a dead God. He is I am. Jehovah is a living God because he functions in the material world, but Jesus is a dead God because he is an eternal idea in the transcendental world. The material world is a living, changing, developing, and progressive world, but the transcendental world is a dead world. No change, no evolution, no history, no progress, and no destiny. As stated before, Judaism rests on a covenant, but Christianity rests on a testament. This is no accident. It goes to the essence of these two religions. We must consider the difference between a covenant and a testament. A covenant is between living beings, while a testament is between the dead and the living. A covenant imposes duties and tasks. Once the covenant is made, neither party to the covenant can withdraw from the covenant without the consent of the other. But a testament does not impose duties and tasks. True enough, the covenant without the but the testament does not impose a task. True enough, the bequest in a testament can impose duties and tasks on a condition to be bequest, but the beneficiary is not bound to accept both. He can renounce both the bequest and its conditions. Next, the reward in a covenant can be earned only after the performance of the duties and the tasks, but in the case of a testament, a beneficiary gets the reward at once. Hence, while Judaism promises reward only in the end of days and after the Jews will have performed their hardest historic task. The Christians attain to salvation the moment they believe in Jesus. The moment they believe in him, they are saved. It is enough to believe in Jesus to be saved and the sins to forgive, but it is not enough to believe in Jehovah to be saved and the sins to be forgiven. One must justify himself with deeds and with deeds to atone for sins. And while Judaism is principally concerned about the people's society and the whole human race, Christianity is concerned only about the soul of the individual. Judaism is social. Christianity is individualistic. Christianity, like Buddhism, is unhistoric. It knows of no beginning and of no end, and it does not know what the historic function, what is its historic function. Christianity broke away from Judaism and became an antagonist of Judaism. Then take away the New Testament from Jewish Bible, and what will be left? An abstraction. Take an abstraction like Einstein's chest hanging in an infinite vacuum. Christianity, therefore, is unhistoric and unmoral. Whatever morality the Christians have is not due to Christianity, and whatever history the Christians know is not derived from the New Testament. True. The New Testament without the Old Testament is nonsense. I've heard Christians tell me you don't need the Old Testament. I've heard Christians tell me that the Old Testament is evil. I've had Christians tell me that the God of the Old Testament is the devil. Okay, how do you have any morality if you don't have those 613 and the 10 commandments? Where's your morality coming from in the New Testament? What is your morality? You know, what is your morality? Now
Well,
Christians will go ahead.
it's fluid, right? It's whatever the law of the land allows or forbids.
Yes, but I mean, okay, besides love God and love your neighbor, um,
Well,
what
there's the Ten
morality?
Commandments and the no high laws.
Well, no, but without he's saying that like without the Old Testament, what is Christianity without the Old Testament? I
Nothing.
mean, yeah, I mean, there is anti-idolatry, there's anti-homosexuality. I mean, there's things like there's probably anti-theft, there is, and anti-slaver, and all this other kind of nonsense. But
But it's not clearly stated.
and it's not a
We don't
law.
know.
It's more of like a personal. Well, that's the thing about he said about Christianity is a personal covenant, right? It's a personal relationship with God. It's not a community relationship. You're not about enforcing community standards. You just only care about your own salvation with God, right?
Well, I'm sure there was a time when Christians accused each other of heresy, but when they decided to be more civilized, they wouldn't go around calling each other heretics. But there would still be the crime of blasphemy. But the thing is, Christians are not encouraged to ask questions. They're supposed to think of them as two separate things. That it would be rude to ask each other whether they really believe in the Trinity or not, because they didn't want Christians to keep fighting each other after the wars of the Reformation. And also, there were problems with Christian on Christian persecution in the New World at the beginning, which is why the First Amendment was introduced. Because the founding fathers didn't want these Christians to be, fighting each other about about which kind of Christian is more correct.
Okay, let's keep going. Now Christianity will indignantly protest all that I have said about Christianity. That will say that I misstated the facts and misrepresented the truth of Christianity. If it were necessary for me to justify every word I said about Christianity, I would write a big volume, but it is not necessary for me to do this ungrateful task, for it was already done by Christians themselves. Intelligent Christians know very well that a great revolution takes place among Christians themselves. They wake up to the realization of the fact that Christianity is neither historic nor moral, and they try to regenerate and revolutionize Christianity. The literature on this subject is vast and is well known to intelligent Christians, but for my present purpose, I will call upon the Christians to testify and let them tell you what Christianity really is. The first witness whom I call to testify is I. M. Haldman, D.D., pastor of First Baptist Church, Broadway and 79th Street, New York City. A few years ago, he wrote an essay entitled Immorality or Immortality. In his essay, Pastor Haldman endeavors to prove that Christianity has nothing to do with morality. Its sole and only concern is immortality. And now let us hear what he says. Did our Lord Jesus Christ come into the world to make men moral or immoral? I shall answer this question from a basic text to be found in St. Paul's epistles to Timothy. First chapter, 9th and 10th verse. Who hath saved us and called us with an holy calling, not according to our works, but according to his own purpose and grace, which was given us in Christ Jesus before the world began, but now is made manifest by the appearing of our Savior Jesus Christ, who has abolished death and hath brought life and immortality to light through the gospel. He that believeth not the Son shall not see life, but the wrath of God abide on in him. Okay, hold on. Pastor Haldman continues, according to the popular concept, our Lord Jesus Christ came into the world to do good, heal the sick, comfort the sorrowing, set a good example of morality and strict righteousness, and live a life of thoughtful reverence for and sincere devotion to the unseen God. Christianity, it is held, consists in following this example. Like Christ, people are to go about doing good, visiting the sick, looking after the poor and needy, being kindly and cleanly spoken, gentle mannered, and full of brightness and cheer for other lives. In short, a life of perpendicular honesty, unquestioned morality, owning and having reverence for God as the supreme being, but a God bigger and broader than the limited tribal God of Israel, not the Jehovah of a small and comparatively insignificant nation, but a God who, by with whatever name he may be called, is in the final term the Father of all men. Such, with more or less modification, is the kind of Christianity the advanced preacher is preaching, and this is the kind of Christianity, equally more or less modified, the average Christian is trying to practice, or at least holds theoretically. He then believes not the Son shall see life, but the wrath of God abideth on him. Where does moral character stand in relation to text? Let it be said, you are the most perfectly righteous person who ever trod over the earth, that you have a character in with no one which no one can find a flaw. Say you do not believe in the story about Jesus, you do not accept him at all, even as your best example. Say you do not believe in the Bible as the inspired, infallible word of God. What then? What this text declares, that your moral character's related relation to your fellow men is of no salvation value before God. It warns you that as you die and pass into eternity with all your ethical culture, you enter the under the wrath of God, and the wrath will abide on you forever. Pastor Haldman continues, what is the modern concept of Christianity in the light of that text but a monstrous and open lie? But now I turn from all hypothesis hypothecations and suppositions to positive and absolute affirmation. I affirm Jesus did not come into the world to live merely moral life and do good. I affirm his deeds of benevolence and healing were not objective and were no way the superlative of his mission. I affirm his deeds were only incidental to his mission. They were simply the foretold credentials of his mission, the dynamic demonstration that he was in truth and what he claimed to be, the long announced Messiah of the Israel of the Lamb of God, who should bear away the sins of the world and reconcile it to God. I affirm Jesus Christ did not come into the world to be a reformer and advanced socialist. Nay, he saw soldiers everywhere. Everywhere he heard the tramp of armed men returning from the field of battle. He said no word against war. On the contrary, he warned men that he cannot come into the world to bring peace, but a sword. That his coming would put men at variance with one another and bring a bloody controversy concerning himself. He saw a corruption in government. He saw corruption in government. He was born and lived under one of the most corrupt corrupt. He organized no movement of reform against it. Instead, he commanded those who live under it to pay their taxes and therefore support it. He saw slaves under the whiplash. He saw men toiling for stipend. He made no effort to liberate the slaves, uttered no incendiary words that would stir up revolt, even dissatisfaction, but bade them put their hands upon their mouths and their mouths in the dust and say, "We are unprofitable slaves." He did not start a campaign for the amelioration of the voluntary laborer, nor suggest an increase of wages. He saw abject poverty, and yet when a young woman broke an alabaster box, pouring its content of costly perfumes upon him, he rebuked those who rebuked her. Those who call it a waste would have sold it and the proceeds given to the poor, by justifying the expenditure upon himself, by bidding the necessities of the poor to wait. I affirm the average Christian is in the dark as to the whole truth of God, and that the great masses of mankind today are the verge of imminent peril by reason of the false preaching that morality is Christian, or that the supreme object of Christianity is an ethical or moral life. Wait, this pastor said all this? Is this a Christian pastor said this? Yeah, he did. Okay, thus spake Pastor Heldman. Okay,
He said what? He said what? Can you?
everything that we just read, all that anti-Jesus rhetoric, was a pastor that said that.
Oh,
It
I'm
wasn't
afraid I
Rabbi
wasn't
Harry.
paying attention.
Well, just that Jesus did nothing to free the slaves. He started no social revolt, and like when the poor woman with the oils opened up the oils and rubbed his feet with them, and then other people objected and said, well, it could have been sold and the money could have been given to the poor, and Jesus said, no, it wasn't a waste. So he's saying,
The
like,
poor will always be with us, he said.
well, that I think he meant, like, be nice to them or whatever, but that he thought it was okay to waste money on his oil on his feet.
Yeah, what I meant was he was saying, I won't be with you guys forever, but the poor will always be with you. So fuck them, screw them. That was okay. That was the message I got when Jesus said, "Yeah, I want Mary Magdalene to, you know, anoint my feet with her hair."
Let's keep reading. Thus spake Pastor Haldman, D.D., a high dignitary of the Christian Church. Could I put the case any stronger? What Pastor Haldman says about Christianity is the truth. Christianity is not concerned about morality; its sole concern is immortality. This is clear. Morality relates to this material world, and its purpose is to promote our well-being on this earth. But Christianity negates the material world and the life on this earth to promote our well-being on this earth. But Christianity negates the material world and the life of this earth. Therefore, Christianity is not concerned about morality. Pastor Hellman wants the Christian to stop thinking of morality and think only of immortality. And now I will call upon another witness who will condemn Christianity just because it negates the material world and morality. This witness is Professor John McMurray of University College London. He wrote an essay entitled Creative Society. In this essay, Professor McMurray shows that what passes as Christianity is a superstition and fraud just because it negates the material world and morality. Professor McMurray believes the true Christianity, like Judaism, concerns itself only about the material world and morality. He therefore demands the destruction of the existing Christianity and bringing out a true Christianity, but this regeneration in true Christianity must identify itself with Marxism and communism and concern itself only about this material world and morality. I will now let Professor McMurray speak to you. Christianity is in fact seems to inhabit ethereal region which is widely separated from the human conflicts by which the fate of man and nations is decided. It takes God with it out of the world. If we cannot define our Christianity in such a way that it can determine for us a clear program of action through which we can claim the future as our own and fight for its position, then we ought to withhold hesitation, reject Christianity completely, and find another faith to bring forth. Belief in God is properly an attribute to the life which expresses itself in our way of behaving. If we wish to know what it means to believe in God, we must ask ourselves what the practical attitude is and how it expresses itself. We are concerned with actions, not with professions, and we have repeated warnings from the teachings of Jesus that the divine judgment pay little attention to professions and is likely to have surprising results. I cannot help feel that communism, whatever its exponents may say, has recovered that essential core of real belief in God, which organized Christianity has in our day largely lost. For the communist movement started when Marx said, "Let us turn from the ideas to reality. Let us look not at people's theories, but at their actions." It is by seeing how societies and their instructions work in practice, and not by accepting their ideal accounts of what they are. After that, we shall understand their real life. Pseudo religions take the truth of real religion and isolates it into ideal heaven, completely divorced from the material reality of the common action, and floods with the colorful lights of primary fantasy. Such a process, by establishing illusion, is in the mind of men established in the reality, their isolations, and their slavery. Professor McMurray continues in world history, the Hebrew people is unique, and it is unique because it is the only people who history is religious through and through. Whose history is religious through and through. It is this which makes the history of the Jews both the unsolved problem of history and the clue to its inner meaning. I don't believe that all Jewish history is religious through and through. Well, modern Jewish history is not religious through and through because there's lots of secular Jews. The characteristics of Hebrew religion, which makes it unique in history, is its intense and continuous realism. The realism shows itself peculiarly in the absence of the doctrine of immortality and the absence of otherworldliness. For the Hebrew, religion remained the great organized principle of social life, capable of unifying every aspect of individual and social activity. It never became a particular aspect of human life, relating men to human existence, transcending the earthly life. Hebrew religion, in fact, was intensely materialistic, and is precisely this that gave its persistence and effective reality. And it adapted itself continuously to the material and social change in the development of Hebrew history, and so maintained the condition of religious evolution. The effect of this was to drive into the consciousness of the Hebrews the belief that the basis of social success lies in social righteousness. It was this intimate connection between their religions and the whole of their material life as a nation that forced upon them their contribution to culture, the development of understanding of the moral basis of social life, which expresses itself formally in the development of the conception of God. Every national failure was traced to a failure to maintain the social righteousness, which was the basis of God's favor, so that the process of the Hebrews' development became the process of discovering the spiritual basis of human community. Professor McMurray continues the development of the teachings of Jesus is centered from the beginning in the idea of the kingdom of heaven. The development has two aspects. It is in the first place the discovery of the really real meaning of the kingdom of heaven. It is secondly and consequently the discovery of conditions of the establishment on earth. These two discoveries take together form the realization of the meaning of the establishment on earth. These two discoveries take together form the realization of the religious impulse in man, and therefore constitutes a program for the conscious development of human society. In trying to understand the revolution which Jesus accomplished in himself and for the world, we must bear in constantly in mind the distinction between the religion of reality and the religion of illusion. The kingdom constantly in mind the distinction between the religion of reality and the religion of illusion. The kingdom of heaven remains what it was for his predecessors. The kingdom on earth constituted from the normal everyday elements of human life. It is in the universalization of religion that it is most apt to lose reality and become unconsciously pseudo-religion. One is through the translation of reality into the field of idea and imagination. The other is through the consequent divorce of the ideas from particular action, and involves the glorification of material power as the basis of social order. These two forms of pseudo-religion are exemplified in the two great universal religions which still test the claim of Christianity, Buddhism and Mohammedanism, both the religions which achieve universality by a loss of reality. To achieve universality, Buddhism had to represent the world of material activity as illusory, while Mohammedanism had to represent it as the field of physical force. Buddhism achieved a merely ideal spirituality, Mohammedanism merely an idealist materialism. These two tendencies may be seen at work throughout the history of Christianity itself. It is always tending to become a religion of illusion, either by approximation to Buddhism, that is to say, through a divorcing of the spiritual world from any earthly reality, or an approximation of Mohammedanism in which it thinks to establish the kingdom of heaven by the use of physical force. The supremacy of the religion of Jesus lay in its capacity to remain fully material and yet to achieve universality. The success lies precisely in the universal concreteness. It is this above all that we have to understand. Okay, hold on. Okay, he goes on and on about Professor McMurray. Okay, let's take a little break. Um. Okay. Okay, that was just more of. I just need a break from eating, but that was just more of like, well, Christianity just doesn't get it, right? It doesn't. It doesn't know. It doesn't know how to make spirituality about physical action on Earth. Like, it doesn't link those two things together. It doesn't. They're two separate. There's two separate things. But then I guess he gets into somehow Christianity gets into the idea of establishing heaven on earth and imposing its laws and conquering people at the same time, which comes from the Old Testament. And the problem is Christianity is schizophrenic because the Old Testament is connected to the New Testament, and the Old Testament is about establishing a physical Israel through physical force and genocide and conversions. So, um, it's schizophrenic in that way. It doesn't know what it wants.
Well, I mean, I judge Christianity by how well it has served Christians. I mean, forget non-Christians, because obviously, if you're, whatever your religion is, you're not thinking of the benefit of how you're going to be benefiting, people not within your religious group. But the problem with Christianity is that it hasn't been serving the people who call themselves Christian. I mean, that's my point. I mean, I'm not going to pretend I'm shocked and disgusted that Christians conquer and loot and pillage non-Christian countries in order to conquer them. That's not my point at all. I'm saying that it has failed to support the divine right of kings. And now it is failing to even maintain the patriarchy, which all the world religions are supposed to do. And by that I mean, getting people to marry before having children. And so Christianity has been replaced by liberalism, and liberalism has also failed, which is why I promote secular Quranism as the replacement of Christo-liberalism.
Can I ask you a quick question about Christian Edward Martin? Is that he has that's like is that his real Facebook account without any profile pictures, or is that a fake account?
I don't know. I don't know if it's really his name or whatever.
Well, he
He
doesn't
might
show
use
his
a pen
face.
name. Hmm?
He doesn't show his face, and he's friends with the Noahide Richard Mather. If you want to know more intellectual Noahide that might you're look up Edward Martin has a friend on his friend list called Richard Mather, and Richard Mather is a Noahide who writes for the Times of Israel and other major newspapers and stuff like that. He's kind of like a serious intellectual Noahide.
Okay.
So,
I think I
you
did
know,
do that.
Richard Mather.
Yeah, you mentioned Richard Mather before, and I did friend him. I don't remember him accepting my friend request, so
And Alan Cecil blocked you.
yes. And I hadn't even, done anything. I hadn't, posted on his timeline or anything.
That's really weak. That's so weak. What were you doing that was scaring him so much?
I mean, because I didn't actually interact with him, I guess the reason why he unfriended me was because he didn't like my timeline. I'm guessing. Yeah, he hasn't deleted my request, so I've still got cancel request, as an
Who,
option for
Richard
Richard Mather.
Mather?
Yeah.
Why don't you message him and say that you've heard he's a Noahide and you have a mutual friend, Edward Martin, and you'd like to ask him some questions about the Noahide laws?
Well, I don't particularly have questions I want to ask him, but I mean, there's nothing on his timeline really to get your teeth into.
Well, I mean,
It's
he
pretty.
does. If you look for him in the Times of Israel or the Jerusalem Post, and he does write about the Noahide laws, and not always the Noahide laws. Sometimes he writes about other things, but he is a little bit more of a learned Noahide and a little bit more of an erudite Noahide. Maybe not as much as Alan Cecil is, but you know,
Okay, he doesn't use Facebook much, so you don't have to scroll very far to get to his 2016 post. And you can tell he doesn't like using it because there are no comments on it, right? And what he posts is just not particularly um, engaging.
no, yeah, a lot of Noahides are not very. They're not very good at picking up your attention because they're being careful. Noahides are less careful than Jews. I'll give them that. But they're even still, most Noahides they're being too careful, and that's why they can't get any attention.
Yeah, because
And
they're also a bit stupid and
no,
scared.
they're
And he's a
stupid and
Trump supporter.
they're stupid and they're scared. And my work will show them there's no need to be scared. Okay, scared of what? Go ahead, say you want to behead Christians in the times of Israel. How many people do you think are gonna nobody's gonna rise up against you and get you thrown out of the times of Israel, or no, Christians are not gonna revolt against that. They'll be just accept it passively and say, oh well, that's just his opinion. And they're gonna say it doesn't mean all Noahides are like that, and doesn't mean that there really is a conspiracy to behead Christians. That's just a bunch of gibberish. You know what I mean? Like they wouldn't flip out like I would.
Hmm. Well, I mean, they're just not, they're known for, just being very mediocre intellects. So, people just don't take them seriously. And the only way people would take them seriously if the media decided to demonize them, the way they decided to demonize Muslims, you know? And we also have to bear in mind that Islam is a world religion and Noahidism is nowhere.
That woman also is complaining about my readings. She said you should do pause and add more expression when reading.
Yeah, then people would just sort of understand what you're reading, but you just said you couldn't be bothered to do all that.
Is it hard to understand what I'm reading?
I don't know. I tend to zone out when you're reading,
Joe wants to know what a
particularly
mystery.
when you're not reading it, but well, and you have to start again. And
What a mystery. Why would anybody block? Oh, Joe. Now I get it. What a mystery. Why would anybody block a communist atheist from China posing as an ISIS bride, referring to you? And Joe says the no-hides are not scared. They just block mad people. So you're being blocked because you're crazy, according to Joe. Okay, let's continue. Professor McMurray endeavors to show that Jesus had in mind nothing else than what Marx had in mind, and which was all through a Jewish idea. He then tells us the following: the eternal aspect of human life is in fact nothing transcendental or otherworldly. It is the simple fact that the process of human development is real only as the life experience of individual human beings. The life of any human being is lived and its general form determined by a set of conditions, among which the social structure into which he is born holds the most important place. And the form of this process is primarily determined by the relation of man to his material environment. This is the temporal aspect of human life, but throughout all his variations of local and temporal circumstances, there is something that is unchanging. The reality of human life lies in the individual experience of men and women. The human individual must relate himself to his material environment to provide for himself the necessity of his physical existence. He must also relate himself to his fellows to fulfill the social character of his nature as a human being. This is the eternal aspect of human life, the development of society and the development of this form. Real religion is never idealist. It is never supernatural or otherworldly. This is not a matter of mere theory. The religion of Jesus was not ideal, as our study of it clearly shows. It seems to me clearly written in history that religion has often been the driving force of social revolution, which would have been impossible without it. The plainest historical evidence for the effectiveness of religion as a positive social form lies in the history of the Jews, scattered throughout the world under the greatest possible variation of economic, social, and political conditions. The Jews retained their unity as a distinct people without any common basis of territory or economic organization to support it. Marx realizes that there could be no solution to the Jewish problem short of the solution of all the great social problems throughout the establishment of a universal human society. He did not realize that the reason for this lies in the fact that the Jews are the one actual religious community in the civilized world, and that the solution of the Jewish people and of the problem of the universal community is one and the same. The universalization of real religion is the basic expression of eternal nature of all human fellowship and reality. Hold on one second. One second. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Are we? How much farther do we have on this section in Christianity? There's another section on Christianity too. Oh, that woman says I understand, but it would sound nicer. Okay, obviously I'm not reading this very well. Um, okay, we still have a while left on Christianity. What time is that? I don't know if we'll finish this section. Um, Okay. Professor McMurray continues Christianity is the source of communism. Communism has moved into dialectical opposition to Christianity. Through the process by which Christianity, in its conscious form, has been divorced from material reality, a Christianity which withdrew its beliefs from the association with the temporal reality of earthly life must inevitably produce out of itself a temporal theory which divorces itself from the reality of earthly life. Wait. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Produce out of itself a temporal theory which divorces itself from the eternal and spiritual reality. So, right, because Christianity breaks from the material reality. There's only one egg? Can you toast and cheese? Can you do the 4 pieces of toast and cheese? Okay. The clear separation of these not merely as opposing theories, but as antagonistic forces in the field of social development is the necessary prelude to their synthesis in a Christianity which has become real at the full height of its mature development, Christian communism. The separation of communism and Christianity into conscious antagonism means that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. When the full nature of Christianity is realized, we recognize at once that the whole communist theory, insofar as it is positive, falls within Christianity. The synthesis of communism and Christianity is only to be achieved by the reformation of Christianity through a thoroughgoing attack upon all perverted forms of Christianity itself. The first step of all the first step of all, on which everything else turns, is the total rejection of idealism. The question at issue is this: what and where are the real objective facts to which our ideas and beliefs refer? Do they refer to the substantial everyday life of the world around us, or do they refer to another life or another world which lies somehow beyond or outside this life and this world? Idealism is profoundly irreligious because it is the perversion of religion into unreality. The real world is the world in which we act. The ideal world is the world in which we dream. The effective renunciation of idealism is the first step toward calling Christianity to reality. Professor McMurray then concludes with the following: the answer I would give to Christians who ask what they may do would be this: attack pseudo Christianity openly and resolutely in all its forms. Yes, Swiss. Yeah. The answer which I would give to Christians who ask what they must do would be this: attack pseudo Christianity openly and resolutely in all its forms in the name of the real Christianity. The religious revolution is the immediate and special responsibility of the Christians. Unless we can vindicate the substantial material reality of our religion, we are powerless to do anything effective. There must be war to the death between real and unreal religion, even if it should cleave organized Christianity into and destroy all its existence forms. That is the primary task, and it has to be achieved concretely in terms of the Christian denunciation and criticism of existing structures of society and its effects upon the lives of men and women. At present, that criticism is either divorced from Christianity altogether, or where it is associated with Christianity, it is in such general and emotional term that it means nothing definite. It is only by making it at once definite, detailed, and circumstantial, and grounding in the clear principles of the Christian conception of true human society that we shall discover for ourselves what Christianity really means and be able to detect and to destroy the perversion of idealism and power. Okay. I regret that space does not permit me to quote still more copiously from the essay of Professor McMurray, and that all that I can say is that the reader will do well to procure this other essay of Professor McMurray, and study them carefully. They are published by Eddies and Page, 347 Madison Avenue, New York City. When we now reflect on the views of Pastor Haldman and Professor McMurray, we clearly see they differ fundamentally about the nature of Christianity. According to Pastor Haldman, Christianity is not concerned about this material world and morality, while according to Professor McMurray, Christianity is only concerned about this material world and morality. But Professor McMurray does not speak of Christianity that existed and exists. He speaks only of the Christianity that Jesus had in mind, but which never existed. Professor McMurray now wants to bring into life the Christianity of Jesus, which, however, never existed. I shall not stop to consider the question who of them is correct in this view about the nature of Christianity, but this is perfectly clear. Whatever idea Jesus had about the kingdom of heaven, the Christianity that resulted never concerned itself about this material world and morality. And according to Professor McMurray, for this reason, Christianity was only a pseudo religion and not a real religion. I have yet a third witness to testify on the nature of Christianity, and this is Conrad Knoll. He is a priest of the English Catholic Church and a member of the Order of the Church Militant. He wrote a book entitled The Life of Jesus, which was published by Simon and Schuster in 1938 in New York City. Hold on. Okay, we have another page and a half on this Christian part. Um, Wait, okay, my food is gonna be ready in a second. I'm getting hungry and getting faint, so it's getting hard to read. Um, so we're gonna get into this last guy, but he's obviously pushing for the acceptance of Christian communism, and I mean, I understand communism came out of Christianity, and Christianity probably can't really survive without communism. That's probably why the Christian West has gone so socialist, because they needed something. They needed some kind of earthly morality. They had no earthly morality. Are you there, Claire?
Yes,
She must have.
I'm here. What, what,
Okay,
what did
so,
what did you want to say about earthly morality?
well, what do you think of the concept that communism was born of Christianity because Christianity needed an earthly morality?
Well, I would say anything that is against Christianity is a reaction to Christianity. So, and the react and you know, communism rejects Christianity because it's saying it's failed. That's why we are feeling so poor.
That's why we're feeling so poor.
Yeah, because
Well,
communism is only attractive or powerful when most people are feeling poor and hopeless. And and,
mhm.
and they also blame the elites for keeping them poor and hopeless. And that's why they want to take the property of the elites. That's the main motivation of communism, isn't it?
Maybe, yeah, well,
Well, I'm saying it's a reaction against Christianity. It's a rejection of Christianity,
well,
Christianity and monarchy.
it was needed because Christianity was lacking, and so you know Christians needed some kind of earthly morality. There was really no earthly morality for them. There was no earthly law that and so Christian society, as we can see, goes in any direction, and any kind of abusive direction, either whether it's financial or I don't believe it's abusive, but I mean all the LGBTQ and stuff is because they actually don't have that earthly morality to eradicate these kinds of things. And they're more worried about their personal salvation. What's my personal relationship with Jesus Christ? Not like, how do I police my community?
Well, I think most Christians are hypocrites anyway, and they don't really care about each other. They only pretend to believe in Christianity because they're too afraid to tell it to go jump in the lake, and so they only pretend. And people who only pretend are hypocrites and cowards, and you can't expect anything noble from them. And so it was perceived that you reject it altogether, which is what the founding fathers, well, not so much the founding fathers, but certainly the French revolutionaries, they were trying to create a religion of their own because we know they changed the calendar. They changed the measurements in France, and they also changed the calendar, which is the features of having a revolution. And then after the French Revolution, there was a Russian Revolution, which was another rejection of Christianity and monarchy because they killed the Tsar and all his family. It's like, what else do people have to do to show that they reject Christianity? But now, the Russian Federation is going back to it because they can't think of anything else. But then, I'm saying there is Islam, but they can't, come to terms with it yet. But and the Muslims are too stupid to press their advantage. And they do Dawa in the most retarded way. I guess because they're confused and they're afraid, and they think of innovation as a dirty word, while Jews think of it as a good word. I mean, a lot of these Islamic scholars they're just completely useless. People like William say, "Ooh, I studied under him and her," and I said, "Well, what did they say?" And he can't tell me. He can't even explain. He can't even begin to explain why these wonderful Islamic scholars that he studied under were so clever. And basically, William is, of mediocre intellect. I mean, he lacks even the self-awareness to admit that he's against secular Quranism because I'm not Muslim. And that's the only reason, because, okay, if people adopted secular Quranism tomorrow, assuming that America adopted it tomorrow, um, and it would be called secular Quranism until America became a majority Muslim country, and then it would become Islam. Secular Quranism would become Islam when America goes from a non-Muslim majority country to a Muslim majority country, and the transition is going to take place if it happens, in that way, and they're going to call it. They're going to change the name of their operating political orthodoxy. And all these Muslims will say, "Ooh, but it's like, what is it? Secular Quranism, she's not even Muslim." Um, you know, the, Either they're stupid or just pretending to be stupid because they're scared of, the American government identifying them as radicals. But I mean, if social conservatives in America are worried, then it's obvious what the problem is. America hasn't got an official religion,
Uh-huh.
and I mean, don't you see that that is a problem?
Well, I don't no, I don't think that you need a religion like the Noahide laws say. You don't need a religion. You just need the laws, and that's all you need. You don't need a Noahide state does not. Jamo, I need the medicine. Um, a Noahide state does not teach proper thinking. It doesn't teach proper religion. It doesn't teach you how to believe in God or what to believe or anything like that. It just enforces the law, and that's it.
Yeah, but that would be better than nothing. And currently, Americans have nothing. And even when they, established Education and Sharing Day, they didn't, they haven't done it properly. And you said you didn't even notice it when you were at school. And
No,
Education and Sharing Day was established in what, 1979, was it? Or 78? I forget now.
some
Do you know?
76, something like that. But they didn't discuss the Noahide laws at first. They didn't start discussing the Noahide laws until the 80s.
Yeah, and if they start discussing it properly, somebody is going to say, "Isn't Christianity idolatry?" And say, "Kick it out." And I suppose then they're not going to be discussing it properly because they don't want there to be, religious conflict in America at the moment. Because if your principle no hide, you'll have to say, "Well, I'm afraid, Christians, that what you do, what you believe is in fact idolatry," and then there will be trouble. But Muslims will just say, "Don't worry about it. We're not going to hurt anyone. We're not going to close down any places of religious worship." But obviously, in an Islamic state, the mainstream religion would be Islam. But don't
Okay,
worry about it. We're gonna, you still have your First Amendment, and therefore they calm things down a lot more than no hides. who would say, oh, well, Christians are
Excuse
not
me.
idolaters.
I would like to see how well, because okay, at one point we know, okay, on one thing we know that they might want to ban all religions, but at the same, okay, the okay, the true bold-faced Jews and Noahides, and especially Noahides, make no ifs, ands, and buts about this not being about freedom of religion. But the more scared and devious Jews who are actually in control of the Noahide movement are going to try to convince everyone that Noahide law supports the First Amendment. Now, to be honest, you can be a kindergartner and see through the fact that it really doesn't, and all you need to do is see a bunch of Noahides and honest Jews in actions, and you can realize where this is all going. But I know the Jews are going to come out at first, and they're going to be like, "Oh no, the First Amendment will stay." And we're not getting rid of the First Amendment. You're going to have freedom of religion. You're going to have freedom of speech. You know what I mean? It's all about freedom of religion and freedom of speech. I mean, that's what they say now. Oh no, it's all about human rights. It's all about human rights and making sure everyone's happy and making sure everything runs properly and that nobody's treated wrong and all this other kind of stuff. Oh, I'm just making coffee and then we'll finish reading. We have about a page left, page and a half left. Um, I'm just making coffee. I mean, don't you think that these rabbis are being disingenuous when they tell people the Noahide laws are compatible with freedom of religion?
Yes, of course. That there's no way they can get round the fact that the 36 capital offences of Judaism include breaking the Sabbath. So Jews themselves don't have freedom of belief. And idolatry and blasphemy is a capital crime. They are capital crimes. So, they're exposed. So anybody who knows anything about Judaism will, push them over easily. I mean, they're just hoping that nobody's going to notice, but they are. They're going to notice. All these Muslims are going to notice. And Muslims will be saying, no, don't choose no, rabbinically no, guided no Noahidism, choose Islam. Are you crazy? Why are you going to choose them over us? And it's like,
Well, if you don't like idolatry, then there's no reason to choose Islam over Noahidism. And actually, you're not Islamophobic because what if you just don't want to believe in God? What if you don't want religion? What if you just want the rules? What if you just want a set of rules to guide society, but you don't want religion, you don't want superstition, you don't want weird religious rituals and holidays and fasts and hijras, not hijras, and what's it called? What is it called when they migrate? Muslims migrate?
hijrah.
Hijra. They don't want to go back to Mecca. They don't want to, they don't want to go to the Kaaba. They don't want to believe in the Kaaba. They don't want to believe Muhammad
Sure,
opened up.
that's fine. You don't have
I
to
know, but
convert to
there's a
Islam.
dip. I know, but that's I'm saying you're not Islamophobic just because you don't want to have a religion. That doesn't make
No,
you
no, but
Islam.
the whole point of secular Quranism is that it's going to be run by people who are not Muslim.
I know, but the idea of secular Quranism is to turn into Islam.
Yeah, it's like saying, well, I mean, as long as you people remain non-Muslim, then it'll be, non-Muslim majority until it does become Muslim. Then obviously you'll have to have a think. But for people who find the whole idea offensive, they can do the best they can, but they've got what they need.
Okay, but
It's not the
okay,
problem of Muslims if they can't breed and don't have enough children or whatever.
Noahidism would eliminate religion forever. Forever.
Nonsense. How?
Yes, well, because you would be executed if you practiced religion. You would be executed if you practiced religion. The difference, that's the difference. This
Well,
is
you
for
wouldn't be
people who,
practiced if you practiced Judaism. You wouldn't be executed if you practiced Islam. You'd be
yes, you would be. No, 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 no. Look, eventually Noahidism is getting rid of Islam. We all know that. Right now, they're playing little
You
games. They're
don't
talking
know
about,
any such thing. Where does it even say
you
that?
can't have a religion. You cannot have a religion. You can't.
Okay, well, there's no way. Wait, there's no way Gentiles are going to accept from Jews that they're not allowed to have a religion.
What if they're going to show them that religion has caused nothing but problems?
Well, religion is just politics. We can't help but talk about
Yes.
politics.
Well, so then, well, Noahidism is politics too. So there's, if you want to get involved in politics, become a Noahide. But, if you want to get rid of religion, don't choose secular Quranism because it's just the anti-room to religion. It's a trap. It's a
Well, I'm
trap.
saying you do need religion, and you're crazy to think that you don't need religion. And most Gentiles would be outraged at the idea of letting rabbis tell them what to do. I mean, there's so much anti-Semitism around it; it's
Well,
unthinkable.
that's only
Yes,
because
yes, all right, Rabbi, we'll let you, tell us what to do and not give us our own religion because we're too stupid and we don't deserve one because we're only what dust at your feet, Rabbi. I don't think so.
someone keeps trying to break into my someone keeps trying to break into my
Dalmatian dog wants to wants out, wants in, I should say.
Okay, hold on.
We can let him rant while you eat.
Yeah, well, we'll let him rant a little bit. Hold on, I'll send it him in a second. I just need to do something. Um, someone is trying to come after me. I bet it's a Hindu. I bet it's a Hindu.
Happening.
Hold on. What do you mean it's read only? Ugh, this is so fucking annoying.
Me.
Hold on. Um, it's probably a fucking Hindu.
What's
I
happening?
don't. Okay, so somebody tried to log into my account a while ago from a different phone in a different part of the world or a different part of the country, and it realized that there might be something wrong, so it asked them to upload documents to prove that they were me, and it sent me a message and it said somebody is trying to log into your account and we asked them to upload documents. This is you, and I said no. So this time they must be getting more sophisticated because they sent me a message and they said someone did upload documents. I doubt anyone would put their own driver's license or their own passport in there because that would obviously show that they were lying. So maybe someone has fake IDs of mine and got them made up and are trying to enter into my Facebook with them.
Right, so go and change your um password, I guess.
I did.
Hmm.
Okay, wait, Dalmatian Dog wants to come in?
Hmm.
Okay, I'm posting it. But we only have about a half hour to finish this. There's a page left, so we'll get it all done. So we can stop and chat with Dalmatian Dog. But anyway, while he's on his way, let's read. Like Professor McMurray, Conrad Knoll proves that the Christianity which existed and exists was and is a perversion of the doctrine of Jesus. The central idea of Christianity is the kingdom of heaven. For thousands of years, the Christians were taught by the church and priests that the kingdom of heaven was to be a kingdom in heaven to be enjoyed in heaven after death. But no time did the Christians make an attempt to find out whether this was really the idea of Jesus. And now, after 2,000 years of Christianity, Conrad Knoll takes up this original question, which was never asked and therefore never answered, namely, what did Jesus actually mean by the kingdom of heaven? How can this be ascertained? Conrad Knoll made a daring step to ascertain the truth. This is what he did. He started out with the following premise: Jesus spoke to the Jews. He spoke in their language and expressed ideas which they understood. He spoke to the Jews in the kingdom of heaven, and Jesus did not tell them that his idea of the kingdom of heaven differed from the idea of the kingdom of heaven. He spoke of the kingdom of heaven as the Jews themselves understand it, and Jesus did not speak to non-Jews about the kingdom of heaven. The question then is, what did the Jews understand by the kingdom of heaven? It is this question which Conrad Knoll undertook to answer. It is a revolutionary question, and therefore the answer is revolutionary. The answer is revolutionary. Conrad Knoll shows that Jews understood by the kingdom of heaven nothing else than a kingdom of God which will be realized on this earth and which mankind will enjoy while they live. There's no doubt that this was the idea of the kingdom of heaven which the Jews always entertained and which they still entertain. This being so, then when Jesus spoke of the kingdom of heaven, he meant just what the Jews meant. In other words, Jesus actually meant the kingdom of heaven to be realized on this earth and to be enjoyed by mankind while they live. Since the idea of Jesus is the soul and essence of Christianity, it clearly follows that the followers of Jesus perverted and distorted the ideas of Jesus, and Christianity was and is only a perversion and distortion of the ideas of Jesus. Since Jesus thought only of a kingdom of heaven to be realized on earth, it follows that Christianity must identify itself with the material world and cooperate with the revolutionary forces that work for the realization of the kingdom of heaven on earth for living humanity. Conrad Knoll reaches the same conclusion with which Professor McMurray reaches, namely that Christianity must identify itself with communism. Okay, Dalmatian Dog is here. Hello?
Hey, hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Okay, if here's my new thing when I let Gentiles on here. If you have something intellectual to discuss about the Noahide laws, I don't mind. I don't want to talk about how few Noahides there are, how little influence they have, how few rabbis are involved. Like, first of all, that's not true. There's a lot of this going on. And number two, like, there's only so many times I can hear, there's only a 500,000 Noahides. What are you worried about? Like, this,
Yeah,
that,
it's like aliens, Vincent. It's like aliens. But
okay, but
let
that conversation only goes so far. That, like,
yeah, sure, sure, sure.
that's a dead end conversation of like, okay, well, there's nothing here. Like, do you have actually something intellectual to add to the conversation
Well, yeah, I mostly wanted to just address Claire, actually.
about
Um,
what?
well, about her no official religion statement about the rest of the world, and also the claim that Islam should be pressing these failed Christian societies, like or these Christian societies that aren't doing well, to spread Islam around in those countries. Like that is just an idea that I don't think will ever work. It's insane, but but the no official religion thing. It's like Claire, why does a country need an official religion? I don't even understand what a
Look
religion.
what's happened to America. You're complaining about it all the time.
Yeah,
How
but
corrupt your police are, how corrupt your government is.
is that because
It's
there is
because
no
you have no official religion. Well, that's my thesis, and I'm sticking to it. If you think there's something else, I guess you want to claim the Jews.
what is religion more than just like morality? That's what I don't understand. It's like
Okay, you
No,
don't
it's
think
not.
morality.
No, it's not. It's more.
you
No,
could
it's more.
go. I'm sorry.
Because morality is not objective, it's subjective. Like the abolition of idolatry, that's a subjective value. That's not objective morality. Morality is different than ethics. And And a religion starts giving you morals that are not objective. It starts telling you to do things that are not based in reason or rationalism. They're just based in some kind of belief that has no real basis in reality.
Like what?
Okay, so
Like
then
no,
by that, America's like the most rational state. That's that by that definition, then secular societies are more rational than religious ones. I mean, that's
of
kind of
course
weird.
Of course they are. There's no rational reason to outlaw idolatry. There's no reason to say you can be a monotheist but not a polytheist. That's not rational. That's just someone just has to tell you that and you just have to accept it. And that's it. You either believe that or you don't. There's no number equation, there's no scientific proof, there's no any kind of proof that can show you that being one is better than the other or that one is immoral. Okay? It's not science to say idolatry is immoral.
It's obvious who is the most powerful religious group in the world. It's the Jews, right? And Jews wouldn't exist without their religion. That's why you're obsessing about Jews the whole
I'm just
time.
I just don't understand when you say that the problem is there's no official religion. It's like that claim is like so tied into morality. You're saying that there is no moral. Are you saying there's no official religion or there's no morality? Or like I don't understand what the difference. What religion really?
Why the hell
And like
won't
I
you
just said,
read Washington's speech? Why
I can.
can't you read it?
I've
You've
read
never
I've read
read
some
it.
of it. I've read some of it. I
Oh,
don't
you
remember.
couldn't finish it because you suffer from
Well,
ADHD.
it
After
takes
all this
it's
time,
quite
how
long,
long have
Claire.
you known each
It's
other?
quite long. It's quite long. But can I say, I think people's morality, like whatever that is, religion, morality, is expressed in the laws. So that
Okay,
was a
so
claim.
your laws are always moral. All the laws in America are moral. Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't think they're always moral. No, but I think for you to say that the problem is there's no official religion, that's like not a that's weird to say to me. What's the real problem is that there's no that nobody that you have no morality. You have no there is or it's a warped morality or a secular. Your problem is with a secular morality or something.
Yes, I'm saying
I mean,
religion maintains morality. And I don't understand why why Vincent just said, oh, it doesn't, it's just morality. Who cares about that? And I'm saying, obviously, it's important because that's what people are complaining about the whole time about their government and their corruption, the incompetence, the craziness. I don't know why, you complain about your government and say it's nothing to do with morality. I don't understand.
well, I mean,
It's
it
like
might have
saying
something to
water
do with
isn't wrong.
it might have something to do with morality, but I don't think it necessarily has anything to do with religion.
So how do you
But
maintain
can I just
morality?
Well, okay, wait. We were just Dalmatian dogs. So what do you believe in? Okay, well, and this goes to Claire too when it comes to religion. The whole point that we've just been going through Christianity, and the point is that Christianity doesn't have a physical, earthly morality, right? It's all about getting you to heaven through personal salvation. And in a way that does affect your society if
don't
you
the
don't
doesn't it have the Ten Commandments, or isn't there? I don't know too much about
the
Christianity.
the Ten Commandments are for Jews. They're not no, the
Okay,
Yeah,
commit
but
the ten
Christians
no no no
adopted it.
I
They
know, no, the
adopted
Ten
English
Commandments are not
morality.
binding. The Ten Commandments are not binding. You can practice idolatry, nothing will happen to you. Nothing will happen to you.
But
They're
it's a
not
mortal
binding.
sin according to
I know, but it's not
Catholicism.
binding. There's no punishment
Idolatry,
for it. Oh,
blasphemy used to attract the death penalty of being burnt at the stake.
no, but look, officially under Christianity, the Ten Commandments are not binding. If you want to practice idolatry in
Yeah,
Christianity, fine.
there were laws against murder, and murder used to attract the death penalty.
Yeah, I know, but we've just been reading through this whole thing how Christianity provides no earthly morality. That
Well,
it that
I think that's nonsensical. I'm not a supporter of Christianity, but Christianity certainly did maintain morality by saying, well, you're not allowed to commit adultery and fornication and sodomy and murder and all sorts of things. I don't know why you say that, Vincent.
Well, it doesn't. It's not moral, and those are secular values, except for adultery. Even adultery can be a secular value if you've promised not to cheat on your husband. Okay, I think adultery is only immoral when it's a closed relationship. If you've promised your husband and your wife you're not going to cheat on them, and you've said that and that's part of your marriage vow, then I think it is unethical, not immoral. I think it's unethical to do that. I don't like modern day songs that talk about boyfriends and girlfriends cheating on each other, and even though they don't want them doing that. Like I think that's really bad. So we had secular values: no murder, no theft, no animal torture. Those are secular values, but no idolatry is not a secular value.
Okay, I think what you may be doing is confusing public morality with private morality. So public morality is basically law saying, don't murder, don't steal, don't rape, that kind of thing. And private morality is keeping promises to people, who are members of your family or your spouse or something like that. So there is a difference,
Okay,
right?
guys, yes, there is a difference. Let's read the next section. We're a page away, so there's two sections left, so it takes about 2 minutes to read each section. It is now perfectly clear that the Christianity which came down to us was divorced from the material world and from morality. Thank you, Claire. Now, whether Christianity can be revolutionized and be made to concern itself about the material world and morality, and if so, whether it will remain Christianity, we shall see later. But this is now perfectly clear that I did not misstate the nature of Christianity that exists and still exists. Thus, the difference between Judaism and other religions is now definitely established. Only Judaism is a historic and moral religion. All other religions are neither historic nor moral. And the reason is, as stated before, because Judaism is bound up with Jehovah, the God of history. And because all this, the Jews are the only people that are consciously historic and moral. And for this reason, the Jewish people are eternal. And here I want to call attention to a fact universally overlooked even by Jews themselves. It has been universally assumed that the Bible never spoke of immortality. It has also been universally assumed that the Jews acquired this idea during their Babylonian exile, presumably from the Eastern nations. There's truth in this assumption, but it is not the entire truth. We shall presently see that the idea of immorality was with the Jews from the very beginning. Jehovah told Isaac that he was the God of Abraham. To Jacob, Jehovah told that he was the God of Abraham and Isaac, and to Moses, Jehovah told that he was the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Was Jehovah the God of the dead ones? Let us see what the Bible tells us about death of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. See Genesis 25, 8, 35, 29, 49, and 33. You will find the Bible using in these three cases the same expression, and he was gathered to his people. To what people? How was he gathered to his people? What does it mean that he was gathered to his people? The answer is this. Right here, we are told that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are eternal. This immortality differs fundamentally from the immortality of other races and people. The immortality that mankind generally believes is an immortality of the soul in heaven. When a man dies, his soul goes up to heaven and unites with God. The soul comes down to the earth to exist in an embodied form, functioning through life, and then goes back to heaven where it remains forever. This is not the immortality of which the Bible speaks. The Bible speaks of immortality right here on earth. In what consists this immortality? It consists in this: the soul continues to live and function through the children and grandchildren and people descending from them. Hence, when a man dies, his soul is gathered to his people. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, and all the rest continue to live in the Jewish people, and in due time they will live in the whole human race. This was the immortality of the Jewish people, and it was known to the Jews all the time. When, however, the Jewish people suffered a national catastrophe and the remaining Jews were exiled to Babylon, they seem to have lost hope that the Jewish people would continue to exist. Hence, the Jews adopted the general idea of immortality, which is of an individual nature. It was this idea that the Jews brought back from exile, but with the regeneration of the Jewish people in Palestine, the ancient idea of immortality was also regenerated. And while most Jews believe in the general idea of immortality, the Jews that have a deeper understanding of Judaism know that the only immortality there is for the Jews is immortality in the Jewish people. Each Jew continues to live in the Jewish people, and he will continue to live so long as the Jewish people will live, since the destiny of mankind is to become Jews. No, not Jews, Noahides. It follows that each will continue to live as long as mankind will live. This is the true Jewish idea of immortality. Okay, so Rabbi Harry Waton, obviously, and these Christians disagree with you, Claire, that Christianity is morality. He just gave three Christians who said that Christianity has no morality because it has no earthly ethics.
What does
Can I
it
just
mean
say?
by
Can I just say?
earthly ethics?
Well, my opinion is I don't even think morality and religion are real. Like those are just like it's just like all human preferences. Like none of it is even real. Like all the religions say don't kill, don't murder. Like why do they all say that? Like there's no religion that's going out saying, "Oh, get drunk, like do all these things that you would view as like bad," right? They're all just groups of people with preferences signaling for survival purposes or other reasons. Like it's just all a facade.
So, if people have a preference not to be stolen from and not to be raped and not to be murdered by other people, then they can agree on a moral system that has these laws, right?
I guess, but I mean, what is a religion past a moral system? Is it a moral system or is it just like is it or what is the difference between a religion and a moral system? Are they basically the same thing?
I'm saying moral religions are
No,
moral systems, and so are secular political ideologies. Because they all have
a re-
narratives. It's like, we Nazis think Jews are bad people and blah blah, and or we communists think capitalists are bad people, or we capitalists think communists threaten our way of life. There'll always be an in group and an out group,
I
and the
guess
best religion would be the one that people can agree with, that appear to be fair enough to most people, so they don't rebel, and then you can have
I guess, but,
stability.
but why do you need why can't you have preferences for what you think is right and wrong without having religion? I mean, you agree that that's possible, right?
What do you mean by that?
Like, I mean, you can like do you think you can be secular and have a like a moral worldview, Claire? Like, I mean, do you acknowledge that it's all just like there? Why is there no religion that says don't go kill everybody? That's the right thing to do. Kill everybody. Well, why isn't there a religion that says that? Like it makes logical sense that there is no religion that says that because that religion probably wouldn't flourish or do well or survive.
Yeah, because your group would be killing each other and stealing from each other and committing sexual offenses against each other, and your group would just die out because it would be so divided, that it wouldn't be able to fight a successful defensive war, which is why, all these religions who don't have these, obvious no-Hitic principles, are no longer around. So
It's like
what I'm saying is that there are five world religions. It's obvious which one we have to choose, and which one is the most
the
no-hide.
when you said that earlier about like if they just press the Christian societies with Islam's too stupid to press these Christian societies. Like that is the most stupid thing I've ever heard. That's so dumb. You agree that that's stupid, right? Because
No,
they would never. You think that these societies are going to adopt Islam? That's like it's like totally foreign. It doesn't make any sense. It's like they could press them as hard all day, Claire, but it's not going to do anything. It's like
okay. So you don't
and
think your society needs a religion. You don't think your
no,
society needs a
always every society. I don't know what the fuck a religion is. That's what I keep saying. It's like,
you've
is it
heard of
just a moral
Judaism, you've
system?
heard of Christianity,
Because
you've
if
heard of
Christian,
Islam,
if,
you've
hold on,
heard of
if religion
Buddhism,
is
you've
nothing,
heard of
Claire,
Hinduism.
Claire, Claire,
So why are you
Claire,
saying you don't
if
know what a
religion is
religion is?
religion is nothing more than just a moral system, then every society on earth has a religion expressed in the laws.
Yeah, and you can compare these different groups and see which ones are doing better and which ones are not doing well at all.
I agree. You can compare them, sure, yeah. Uh, but do you understand that? Like, I think even America has a moral system. You agree with that, right?
No, I'm saying you don't, because your unofficial religion is the pursuit of happiness at the expense of other people. That's your religion. isn't it? I mean, that's the one that Americans have heard of. The pursuit of happiness. It's
Where
all right.
the pursuit of happiness is a uh but I mean we have laws that we enforce, that we go out and, so I mean, what is that? That's not a moral act of like enforcing the laws. Like that's an
Okay,
act
but
of,
a lot of Americans don't think that the law is they don't think it's fair or it's not fairly enforced, right? I mean that is the problem.
sure, people have moral things that conflate with the laws. Yeah, I'm sure tons of people do. Yeah. I'm not saying the law is always moral, but I'm saying that it is there. I don't know. Religion and law seem very intertwined, obviously, with, and
Yes, it is.
morality too.
So
Morality
your
too. Yeah,
laws should be based on your moral system.
but
That's the
like
whole idea. That
but
that is
every
what Islam
society
assumes.
clearly,
It's
like,
like, well, if you're Muslim and you believe in God and you believe in the whole story about the Quran being the word of God and it contains laws, then you better follow it. And Muslims say, okay, yes, it's logical, so we're gonna, obey out the Sharia.
even if I were to
But
grant
it's
you,
Christians that are completely messed up in the head.
okay, Claire, I get it. You really don't like Christians. I understand. Okay, but even if I were to, so you just refuse to acknowledge America has a moral system.
No, but what is it? Has it got a name?
It's expressed in the laws. It's expressed in the government. It doesn't need a name.
It does have to have a. Okay, China has a moral system. It's called Socialism with Chinese Characteristics. It's got a name. You guys don't have a name for whatever moral system. What is it? Is it BLM? What?
That's very funny, Claire.
I'm not being funny,
I
though.
don't think it needs a name. That's what I'm saying. I think it's expressed. I think to classify it is unnecessary. I don't know if it needs a
Okay, so
classification.
what you have is basically Congress making whatever hell laws it wants to make. And Congress doesn't care about ordinary Americans because it controls the legislature. It can make any law it wants and repeal any law it wants, and ordinary Americans can, well, go jump in the lake if they don't like it. So that's what's happening now, and you're saying it's okay, but it doesn't seem to make sense to me because you're always complaining about your government.
I'm not saying immoral things are okay, but I am saying that there is some sort of like, people think things are right and wrong in America. You agree with that, right?
Yes, they have their opinion about what's right and what's wrong.
Okay. So they do have some sort of moral view of the situation, right? I mean,
Yes,
you always do, no
everybody
matter
has an
what.
opinion.
Sure, yeah, okay, yes. So, but to classify it, I think is not the most important thing in the world.
Why not?
Because again, I think it's just all a facade. I don't think any of it's real. It's just all like they're just groups, like these groups from these old groups of first they groups formed for survival purposes or other reasons. It's like, I don't know. I don't think it needs to be classified. I mean, you could call it American morality, literally.
Okay, so what is American morality? Can we have a list of, American
Yeah,
principles?
sure. I could give you the laws of the country for that, for to express, to show you that.
Okay, so you're fine with the laws of your country.
No, I'm not saying I'm fine with it, but I'm saying that they do. They just exist. Like, I'm just saying it
Okay,
exists.
so you you don't agree with the no hide laws, or I mean, or you do?
You
I don't
like,
know.
my problem is you keep saying America has no official religion, but it like, I don't really understand what that means. Like I've said, but
You
it
don't
does
have an
have.
official religion because you're not saying you're a Christian country or a Muslim country or a communist country. You basically let Congress decide what the laws are, and you can't question it because it's like, hey, it's a law now. Shut up.
Do you
Or
think that, why do we need to be a Christian country, or we don't need to be any of those things? We can just have, we can be like a, I mean, not necessarily a secular society, I guess, if secularism is even a real thing, but we can't assert just our own American morality. We have to go through these channels of Christianity or Islam or something.
You have to choose a moral system so you can you have an official handbook so you can say, hey, this is against our American moral system. You need to have a list of things that Americans always do or never do, so you have your group identity as Americans. I mean, what about Mormonism? I mean, that's a homegrown American religion, and it's white, and it's kind of Christian. I mean, how about that if you want to be all American?
I just don't understand. I just think like there's no difference between these countries that have like or like America's religion or moral outlook of the world, like having it official, I don't feel does anything like extra or special or something. I almost think maybe it could be better not to have an official religion,
Okay,
like
well,
in the
that's what you
laws
have
or whatever.
now, but
But
you're
we
always complaining about your government.
okay, do you agree that oh, I don't know. I don't know what I can even say here to convince you.
I don't even understand your position. I'm saying your problem is that you don't have an official religion and you can't
No,
compute
no,
this, and
that's not
and
even
you,
your
you
problem.
kind of need to show that, oh
You're
no, it would be terrible if we had an official religion,
no,
something like that.
your problem is that we're just not. Your problem isn't even that we don't have an official religion. Your problem is that we're just we. There's no morality in America or something of that
Because
nature.
you're
I mean,
not no hide.
Vincent, do you want to jump in here? I mean, I
Well, all
don't
I
even
want to
want
say, okay, I'll say this, and then let me read the last part, and then you can fight for the last 10 minutes. I'll say this that you told me seriously, and you said it seriously, that America actually was founded on the Noahide laws, because you said we were founded on anti-idolatry and anti-blasphemy. So, I mean, you do believe that we
well, we kind of do you disagree with that?
not officially.
Especially us.
Look, America was a Christian country, but it wasn't officially founded on anti-idolatry. No.
Well, I mean, okay, but we can get, I mean, that's just, well, then we'll get into the specifics of what officially founded means, I guess, Vincent. But realistically, those were prevailing sentiments back in those days. Like,
I know, but they're not in the Constitution.
okay, well, I mean, does that is that necessary? Like, for it to, I mean, obviously, what percent of people were?
Freedom of a religion allows idolatry. I mean, you have to admit that we actually allowed idolatry in this country.
I mean, at some point we became more open, I guess, to blasphemy and idolatry. But in some sense, like, yes, it was founded on that. Like, you didn't have large numbers of people speaking out against God back then. You didn't have large numbers of people worshiping idols, whatever, all these various idols, and speaking out against God. Yeah, it's like, you agree? You even agree with that, Vincent?
I agree the culture was like
I
that.
mean, to some extent, that's just true. It was founded on no-hidism.
Not in the sense that, look, the well, first of all, no. I mean, well, that's questionable because the founders were Freemasons, but perhaps I don't think, or maybe not, maybe they did, maybe not. The founders were like, we want to set Noahidism as the foundation of our civilization. I don't think they did that. I think they said, well, we want freedom of religion, and that means that, we're going to put our own personal morals aside, and we're going to create a secular government.
Didn't they create a? Okay, well, I don't know about all that.
They created a secular government is the point. They didn't base it on the Noahide laws. If they did, there would have been no freedom of religion. Now, it's going to take me 2 minutes to finish this last point, and then you guys can argue for the next 15 minutes. And now I will reveal the esoteric idea of immortality as told to us in the Bible. The Bible tells us Jehovah spoke to Moses and told him, I am Jehovah. I appeared unto Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as God Shaddai, but my name, Jehovah, I did not make known to them. What does the Bible tell us here? What is the meaning of the name Shaddai? God has as many names as he has attributes. Each name is the name of the attribute. What attribute of God is expressed by the name Shaddai? The word Shaddai comes from the root word shad, meaning breast, and Shaddai means my breast. Shaddai is in the name of the breast of of God. What attribute of God does the breast symbolize? It symbolizes the flow of eternal life from parents to offspring. This was what Jehovah told Moses. Jehovah told Moses that he manifested himself to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob by his attribute. By this attribute. I am the tree of eternal life that flows through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and through all their future descendants, and by this I have established my covenant with them. This is the eternal covenant. The tree of eternal life flows from Jehovah through the Jewish people. Now, as well known, the Hebrew letters have numerical values. The whole Bible was written in accordance with an infinite mathematical system. Now, the numerical value of the name Shaddai in Hebrew is 314, and the numerical value for expression in Hebrew and he was gathered to his people is also 314. This is the meaning of the expression used in the Bible upon the death of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It means that Jehovah has the tree of eternal life, continues to live in the Jewish people. This is the true idea of immortality. The Jewish soul is eternal because the tree of eternal life was implanted by Jehovah in the Jewish people. This is what the Jews say. Jehovah gave us a true Torah, and by this he implanted in us eternal life. And now we can clearly understand why the Jewish soul speaks an eternal language. And thus we consider the biological cultural aspect of the world situation that confronts the Jews and the rest of mankind. And now we will take up the consideration of religio-historical aspects. Okay, go ahead, fight.
I mean, Claire, doesn't the fact that all these religions say like the same thing to some degree goes to like invalidate them like to some degree
Well, obviously everyone's coming to the
Okay.
same.
Yes, Vincent?
Go ahead.
well everybody's
No,
coming
I said it's obvious that everyone's coming to the same conclusion, so there's certain values that all humans share.
And the no-hike laws are the ones that you think, well, that most people would agree with, and they are a minimum moral standard of a righteous Gentile nation.
Yes, but that is subjective. It's not an objective morality. Most people believe in it, but it's not like it's not universal.
Okay, but I think most reasonable Gentiles who are atheists or agnostics would have no trouble agreeing to 5 of the no-hike laws, the ones that are nothing to do with idolatry and blasphemy. They'd only be a bit uneasy about idolatry and blasphemy because, Buddhists would know they have idols, and so would Hindus and Christians. So they would be a bit nervous about that. But the
Okay.
no-hike laws are, pretty universal. You'd be, pretty stupid to want to say there shouldn't be laws against murder, stealing, raping, that kind of thing.
I would even argue we probably to some degree have the no hide laws in effect now in America.
I have to get you guys keep talking. I have to get changed.
I actually like the no hide laws. I mean, Vincent, I don't know if he likes them or not, but I don't think they're that bad, Claire. Do you think they're that bad? I mean, the
No,
no hide.
I use them
What's
to
the difference?
promote secular Quranism.
What's the if you like look? It goes to invalidate all the religions because they're just all the same except just with these little niche like differences, and it's like it goes to show you like it's all just a facade. Like it's just all like a religion is just a group of people that have a certain moral like standard and outlook, and they attach it to this book and they try to do all these different things with it, but it's all just to me it's all just not even real. I don't know, it's just all signaling for survival, nothing more. Like
I mean, okay, what do you think is the purpose of religion? Because everybody has it, right? You've just said it's for group survival, and obviously, if you have a group, you have rules to regulate the behavior of the members of your group. Yes.
so okay, Claire, is your problem sorry okay, do you want to ask me a question? Can I ask you a question?
Please.
Okay, so your problem. So are you saying the issue is no official religion, or is it no morality for the country?
I'm saying that you can't have
Do you agree?
religion without.
Can you have morality without religion? You agree you can, right?
Well, Okay, this is controversial because obviously atheists will get offended if you say they're all immoral. But what is morality? I define morality as a system of rules designed to keep the group in existence and apart from others. And I am saying that moral systems can include secular political ideologies because communism is a kind of religion for anybody adopting it because they think it is right that the workers should enjoy the resources that you know well they should have a better life than the
Sure, sure,
capitalist.
sure. Communism obviously has moral claims to its ideology or whatever, and so in that sense, I guess you could say it's a religion. But I'm saying, again, like I have a hard time in my mind separating what the hell is the difference between morality and religion. Really, I just don't
Well,
understand it.
if you think of morality as running on religion, then I think it becomes clear
I
because
feel like
you
it's
know
just morality just is like the base, and then religion like takes it to the next step. And it's like I think that you can have like I think everybody obviously has some sort of moral compass or view or outlook, but not everybody has religion, right?
yeah, because when people think of morality, they kind of think of fairness, don't they? They think of whether something's fair or not.
Yeah, they well I think about right and wrong, but sure, fairness too. I mean that yeah, but
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you won't be able to arrive at a sense of fairness if you don't have any idea of right and wrong.
sure, I agree. Yeah, sure, I agree with that. I don't know. To talk about the no hide laws.
So I'm basically saying that there are seven, and the two that forbid idolatry and blasphemy would be the most controversial. Do you know them off by heart now, or not? Or do I have to list them?
The seven no hide laws. No, don't you don't have to list them. I don't have them pulled up or anything, but obviously I know no blasphemy, no idolatry, no homosexuality, no sexual degenerate acts or whatever. Like no
Okay,
murder,
I'll
and
make
then
it
all the other ones
simple.
are
Yeah, because the first five that I would expect any honest and reasonable person to agree with would be no murder, no stealing, no sexual immorality, don't eat an animal while it's still alive, and establishing a court and legal system to administer these laws. Would you agree with these five?
okay. Sure, yeah. Are you just reading them?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know them, by heart. So the only two that would be controversial for any other religion that isn't Judaism or Islam would be the prohibition against idolatry and blasphemy.
Sure, sure, okay.
So
Uh,
Christians and Buddhists and Hindus would be saying, "Do you mean us?"
yeah, and I'm sure they do, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, and but Jews are kind of pretending they don't mean Christians, and they don't mean Hindus, or they only mean some. You we don't know what they mean because the problem with these
sure,
rabbis
sure.
is
It's
that
up to
it's
interpretation. Yeah, the rabbis are vague. The rabbis are you can't tell what the hell the rabbis are talking
well, I
about,
mean,
right?
it's two Jews, three opinions, so they'll never agree with each other, and you can shop around for a rabbi who'll agree with you. In the same way that you'll be able to find an Islamic scholar that's prepared to
Ah,
agree with you, because
and
they,
and then
they
we
don't know.
and then we get
They don't have a
these
Bible.
rabbis that go toe to toe with each other, and they'll Vincent, this is echoing. Is it because I have the stream open or something?
I don't know what's happening, but there
Hold
is
on,
an
it's
echo.
echoing. Is it echoing for you, Claire?
It's still echoing, yes.
Is it
Is
just
it
me
echoing?
echoing? Okay, there
No,
we go.
no,
It stopped.
it stopped. It
Okay,
stopped. Carry
Okay.
on.
Okay, yeah. People shop around for rabbis and everything else. Like, yeah, I understand what you mean by that. People do that in Christianity. They shop around for priests in Christianity, right? It's no different. People do that in all sorts of religions, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So Judaism and Islam suffer from not having a pope, but Catholics at least have a pope, and so do Anglicans. They have the Archbishop of Canterbury, even though they make sure to stay out of trouble because and say liberal things because it is the liberals who are in control of the Western Empire. And I'm saying liberalism is failing. And this is very difficult to accept for a lot of Westerners because it has become their religion.
I don't think the religion of liberalism.
Yes, yes, it has, without people realizing it, it has become the religion of the West. And so is
But
democracy,
but
and so
but
is
couldn't you say
feminism.
so? I mean, I just when you say things like the religion of liberalism, or what do you think? There's a religion of feminism too?
Yeah, yeah,
It
because
just
people,
that like just confuses me and adds on to this fact that I don't really even understand what did the stream go down? Are we still on stream? We're
yeah,
just without
yeah.
Vincent. He left the.
Yeah, he's
Oh
getting
yeah.
dressed or something.
Okay. Okay. Uh, it's just like yeah. When you say like the religion of liberalism, uh, that's really what you think it is.